Hey there, everybody. Welcome. Let me see here. Should I be over here? I don't know how this works. Does it work like that? How do you drag? I don't know how you drag.
There you go.
Hmm. There it worked. There he goes. Okay, cool. Cool. Stone Loki's helping me out. I'm not sure how long he's able to stay. There is a show later on tonight. Is a comic roundtable. So if any of you are want to make sure they head on over there, make sure you do that. But anyway, so any of you in chat, I did put the link there for you to join. Hopefully I put the right link. I don't know that I did, but I thought I did. And now I'm looking at the link and it doesn't match the one that I just copied. So I apologize for that. Don't know where I'm sending people, Loki. We'll try this link. What do you think of
I
that?
think you're sending it to the YouTube page, not
Oh, I
the
sent it to the
Stream.
YouTube page.
Yep.
There we go. Okay,
Yep.
so there's the StreamYard. Okay, there we go. Never mind. Sorry, folks. There's StreamYard. You guys can jump right in here. So the door is open for those of you guys that want to jump in. Apologize for the confusion. I've had a day. So with that. But yes, Chris Persia here. Hail to Stone_Loki. Yes, that never gets old, by the way. It's always kind of funny. So Steven, I'm sorry. I got the wrong link. There's the StreamYard link. I put it in there for you guys. Sorry about that. Let me pin that. Nope, can't pin it that way. I got to come over here to pin it. And hang on. There we go. Like that. And do this. So, it's been a day. It's been a day. But here we are. So, so I see you guys hanging out in there. Jacob Ironside, Stephen Ransom, Chris Persia, all you folks. Awesome to see you. Feel free though, if you guys are, you guys are members. This is a member only. Making sure I got this right. I guess maybe not. So, if you are a member, you're absolutely welcome to join up in here and hang out with us. I may have done this completely wrong, but I guess we're going to see how this goes, Loki. I may have messed up and not made it like a member only. I'm going to my page to see if I've messed. Can't change it midstream.
No,
All
you
right.
can't change
Well,
it.
there you go. I can't change it midstream. So I may have messed up on that part, folks. I apologize for that. But members can come up in here and join. Stephen Ransom, hey there, brother.
What's up?
If you are a member, you're more than welcome to join. How you, Steve? Not much, man. How you doing?
Good. That was fun the other day.
Good.
We had a couple of streams together just this week. It's great. It was fun.
Yeah, no, it's always fun to cross paths and hang out with people. Always and this is just like a great circle of people that are friends and common interests and common topics and those kinds of things. So yeah, if anybody kind of wants to do those kinds of things, they're always welcome to reach out. I'll do the best I can to chime in. Well, we've had a great chance to talk about movies and comic books together, so it's been awesome. So I'm glad you're able to join this, and thank you so much for being a member and supporting me in this great adventure. It's awesome. And Loki's helping us drive the ship a little bit to make sure with all my technical issues. I'm trying to once we get to another person or two, I'll probably have to go to the avatar at least sometimes to make sure I don't create some sort of buffering system. We'll see how it holds up.
Yeah.
But all of you are out there, folks. Just definitely appreciate you watching, hanging out with us, stuff like that. So what's on your mind, Steven? What's going on, man?
Actually, it's funny you bring that up because Pops, you know me long enough. Loki, you know me well enough. I think also that there's always something on my mind. Always. It's just impossible to stop such a thing from happening. Jacob knows this. There's been a lot of discussion in the fandom over the last few years as to what is going on. Okay, we get the big news bullet points, right? Everything that they're telling us, right? We hear the message from both sides, the angst about it and the pronouns about it, but it just never made any sense. I mean, as older people, we're like, how does this economically fit into anybody's head? I just don't get it. How can they be so self-destructive and complaining against the fandom that was just begging to support them, just begging, right? And I've been kicking around this concept of copyright and contracting ownership of these IPs and how that looks in the lens of the the rights of the artists involved in the original properties. Like, we all know that they changed a lot of the spaceship designs in the Star Wars franchise so that earlier designs didn't have to get copyrighted, right? You know, like, this is why they bring all these old school guys into the new Star Trek. Picard season 3 is to kind of repurpose their identity in their new Star Trek and call that Star Trek Ground Zero, so they can step around older contracts. I mean, I don't know how all this works, but it kind of dawned on me that this self-destruction is a kind of way of ridding themselves of the baggage of Hollywood's burden of paying all these creative people because of their past work.
So I can just tell you more from like the superhero comic book movies and comic book material. That's going to be where I have more experience and my expertise would lie. It's 100% true what's happening in comic books. Hence the reason John Kent is so radically changed. The costume has changed. Now he's gay. It's like he's barely Superman in name. So therefore, the royalties and the money that has to go to the family and the estate is less and less and less along the way.
Right.
And that estate, like many others, the Ditko case is the one that went public, and we really started to understand a lot more. That was like, I think, probably a year and a half or so ago, where they were going after some of the use for Spider-Man and Doctor Strange in particular. And it was like, well, you know, Ditko, he is the sole owner of, you know, the certain type of web shooter and the belt and the car. And there's all these little elements that he owned all 100% creativity control over, both the idea and the design of things like that. So a lot of these things, I couldn't agree more, were designed for financial reasons and avoidance. And Loki and you and I talked about this many times, like follow the money, right? If they can get out of paying someone, that's really a lot of what's behind this.
Right. It may actually be more than they're actually losing, which seems odd to even think about on paper. But I've heard some of these contracts. I've dated people that worked at Warner Brothers. I mean, I know some of the ins and outs of what's going, and some of the number sizes. Like, wait, what? How much do they get paid a year for 5 years? It's just like, it boggles the mind.
Yeah. So let me say hey to chat. Obviously, and if you're a member, you are welcome to come up here and join us. We're got someone else here in just one second. Lord Thoth is here. It's awesome to see you, my friend. Ironcaster has been hanging in, stopping by and saying hey. Awesome to see you. And let's see here. Claude was saying hi. Hey to you. Shelly Lee, awesome to see you, lady. Hopefully you're doing all right. That's how the gifting thing works. Is that the membership thing? So, but yeah, I don't know. Did she become? I keep forgetting, if I don't open it on my phone, it won't tell me when I have certain things that pop up. So I forgot to do that. So bear with me as I make sure I do that too, because if you get certain types of gifts and things like that, it doesn't pop up. Because I think that's what happened with Daryl. Oh yeah. Thank you so much, Shirley. Shelly Lee gifted 10 memberships.
Wow.
So holy cow, that's incredible. Thank you so much. So pretty much everyone I mentioned, from ZBR, Dempsey, Ironcaster, Lord Thoth, everyone. So make sure you hit that button. Make sure you allow the gifts so you can get that and receive that generous donation from Shelly. That is amazing. Thank you so much. That is amazing. So any of you, if you want to hop in here, the Padawannabe is in the house. So it's tons and tons of folks coming in. But first I want to say hey and have Matt here. Never been able to get him on, get able to hang with you, my brother. We've been on other streams together. Talk about a walking comic book encyclopedia. That's this guy right here, Brad. We can run deep and wide on comic books, my friend. So how are you doing?
I thought I was having a stroke for a second. I forgot to mute the YouTube, and I got that feedback loop going. I'm like, oh my God, is this it? Am I going to the big comic book store in the sky?
Oh, well, listen, talk about boomerang. I had my premiere of my interview with Shelby, and what happened is when I was doing my edits, I use a template. I had 2 little corrective audio clips from a previous interview, and I didn't delete them. So there's these 2 or 3 spots where both audios were playing. It got all weird. So I've had to private that video and then fix it, and I'm going to put it back up. So it's there drafted. I just have to finalize it when we're done. So it probably won't get finalized until tomorrow if you missed it. But I can't agree more. When you end up in those loops where that's happening, you're like, your brain just kind of short circuits. Like, what is actually happening?
Yeah. What you just said about that loop, I work in IT, and we occasionally find the strangest things like that. Like one time we had this template that was literally crashing a file, a whole server, just crashing it. It turns out about 17 pages down the template, there was a period. Like 17 pages was blank, and it was one period.
Yep.
Like, you never could predict computers. Yeah,
Oh no, we had a like a senior VP at work. She had copied and pasted like a word change for like an FDA compliance thing had changed.
Mm-hmm.
The number of characters was different, and it caused the entire software thing to glitch. So this whole document that you have to certify things with would no longer work, and no one could figure out what had actually happened. They had to go in the code and figure out the history of who had touched the code itself, or things that would affect the code, to figure out that for example, it was like a 9 characters versus 9 + 1 space that she didn't know she had there, and that's what caused the glitch or something like that.
Oh yeah, I've been in that one. At one of the hospitals in my big corporation, they added a space to the end of a number, a 10-digit number. That one space generated, I'm going to say, 200 hours of IT worker trying to not only I found it, but we had to spend 200 plus hours recovering from thousands of these fake account numbers that got blanked out.
So I'm going to circle back, and I want to ask Loki to chime in on this too, because Ironcatcher is bringing up the infamous 25% Star Trek thing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I did videos on that, but let him call. I mean,
Loki, talk a little bit about that a little bit, and so we kind of get a feel for what Steven's talking about, and we kind of elaborate on how is some of this being driven by just because once it becomes such a corporation driven thing, it's not like a little tiny Marvel thing or a little tiny Star Trek thing. It's like, no, it's a corporation. So it's like line items, and the mandates are like, I don't want to pay people, so figure out how to cut costs. Is that kind of what the infamous 25% different Star Trek thing is, or is there more to it than even that?
I'll give you an example really quick. So everybody knows who Ethan Van Sciver is here, right? Everybody knows Uncle E, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In the Suicide Squad, the original Suicide Squad movie, they used Blackgate Prison. Well, Ethan invented Blackgate Prison. He came up with that idea.
Right.
DC sent him a 7-figure check just for using Blackgate Prison in that movie, because it's his creation. So imagine Star Trek, and then imagine the royalties they're going to be paying out and the money they owe for using the Enterprise without changing it. Paramount had to make changes to the Enterprise D in Generations because it's not CBS. That's why they destroyed the ship in the first movie and they created the Enterprise E. And you never see the Enterprise E in Deep Space Nine or any other series. You never see a Sovereign class because Paramount did that. Because the rights going back and forth, they would have to pay each other. So they don't want to do that. That's the last thing they want to do is have cross payments going back and forth between Paramount and CBS. So by making enough changes, that money's not going out to the people that originally you might have a contract. Well, hey, you know what? Every time you see the original Enterprise, I get 10% of the take. You don't have to send that out anymore. You don't have to give that money out. You can give it to creatives, make them sign a contract that says, well, I'm doing alter work or whatever. And you pay them a lot less than you're paying the people who originally created the stuff.
Right.
Gotcha. So let me just again say thank you to Shelly again for that incredible donation of 10 gifts of membership gifts. And Shelly, by the way, I've interacted with her and met her through the love of Indian cinema, by the way. And lady, just so you know, I'm going to try to get around to do another one of those in the next week or so, hopefully by the end of the month, because I know a lot of folks are asking me about that. And Padawannabe, this is the GOAT when he talks about chewing the gum right there, man. He actually chewed some of the 1980s gum that's here in these wax packs behind. We'll try to give away some wax packs later or something like that. But yeah, if you didn't get one of the gifts, make sure you hit that little green button. Make sure you hit allow gifts. So if you're not already a member, you can be a member and you get involved on that thing. I appreciate the support and love. RR for Oscars. I know, Shelly, it's such a sore topic, isn't it? It's just, yeah, I know.
It kind of fits right into exactly what we're talking about here, though.
I can follow up what Stone Loki said.
Well, 1 second, Matt. Go ahead, Steven.
It's we're entering into this international globalist media landscape, right? Now, imagine this on your table, right? As an executive over at CBS or ABC or whatever, right? You're entering this marketplace, and you started this conversation, what, like 93, 94, maybe, right? And now you got like real dollars showing up on your desk, and 90% of them are gone because you got to pay all these old IP contracts, like Loki was saying, right?
Yeah.
Not just
Yeah.
actors. Let's not even talk about actors' residuals and all that silly nonsense. Let's just talk about set design or the names of planets based on whole science fiction novels that you still have to pay the royalties for just to show the episode, right? It's like, this is so much more complicated. Once you start putting this into your noggin and applying it to what's going on with woke cinema and media, you can kind of chill out a little bit. You're like, I think I see what you're doing here. Your sons of bitches for doing it, but I think I see what you're doing here. I think I get what's going on.
Matt, speak to it a little bit from your perspective as well.
Basically, to keep it a long story short, way back in the 60s, there was just CBS, right? And then they wanted to have a movie subdivision, which was like CBS Entertainment or movies or whatever. And in the early 70s, they split that off to become the first Viacom. And that was like but they were still owning their movie division. Then in the 80s, they made a harder split, and this is where the Star Trek problem started, really. All short-term, like if you consider something that would make money real fast but not have a long-term, like make money in the long term, those went to Viacom, the movie division, right? And all short or long-term money-making things like making action figures and T-shirts and spin-off stuff like comic books and books went to the TV division. So Star Trek movies, you remember when it had all those completely different uniforms in Star Trek 2? You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like anything they invented in the movies, the TV side could automatically make for free as merchandising. They just couldn't depict it on screen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, remember the visual between Next Generation, for example, and like why would the fish go back to anyway? Whereas anything they invented on the TV show, right, they couldn't use in a movie, but they can make an alternate version of it, which would create more merchandising, right? That was the division that they had for years, until the guy, I can't remember his name, it was his quest to reunite CBS in one big company again, and now we have it's called Paramount International, whatever, it's a parent company. So that happened about 5 years ago. But when they got to that point, okay, they had already given JJ and Orky, their company, the Star Trek rights to this alternate universe, right? So now the question is, after the merger and Orky's rights continue on and whatever, and they're going to expire, is Paramount going to let them have, because now there's one Star Trek license. Orky doesn't have access to the whole Star Trek license with the contract he did. He had access to a movie-based license, right?
Right.
So he can't really do much with the existing TV shows, which is why that's the real reason they're changing stuff and for all the ultimate continuity. It's not, the wokeism is just secondary to all that,
Right.
Well, I think
isn't this language all sounding familiar? This is all the same earmarks we were talking about with Amazon and Lord of the Rings. These are the exact same bullet points that we're talking about. Ownership, who owns what image, who owns what page, who owns what book, who owns what show, it's
all contracts, right? And I can go back. Yeah. So my first experience with this, I have two prongs of this, and it goes back to 2003. And believe it or not, it involves Ethan Van Sciver. It's one of the first times I basically did the jump the line ahead of all the senior writers to get the interview to talk to Ethan and actually Alex Saviak, who lived here in Florida. So he was at this Florida show, and there was hardly anyone in line right there. So I started talking to them, and we ended up down this rabbit hole. And it became very clear that the Marvel contract and the DC contracts were so radically different. For instance, they were discussing, and I don't want to get too far in the weeds because I don't want to, I don't know I don't know how offended they could ever get. But let's say there was a picture used in a coloring book. The Marvel side didn't pay you any royalties. And they were cheating you out of this for this type of they were doing not trading cards, but how they would do like the faux like playing cards. You know what I mean? They put different characters on trading playing cards, and things like that would get used, and the artist somehow on the Marvel side. Then I can fast forward to Chuck Dixon, who figured this out so early on the DC side. The licensing people loved him because he was reinventing things for the Bat universe like all the time. Like he was filling out the forms and he was like constantly inventing new gadgets and new things like crazy because he figured it was a way to have longer term royalties, longer term money coming in for his own ideas and things like that. I want to go back to Loki to try to involve him while we have him. Are there other examples you can think of that where like the royalty stuff is so convoluted? People were like playing the game to kind of make the money. Because I know that right now it's all like everyone's trying to clamp down on it, not pay anyone, and then you have the woke agenda also. So it's kind of even more complicated now. But is it, you know, of another example besides Chuck where someone was like proactively playing the game?
Or look at Star Wars. Crap.
Oh, okay.
Take one long look at Star Wars and look at what's been going on there. I mean, the big thing about like CBS was, and someone brought up Amazon, Lord of the Rings too. Amazon is in a really weird position where it can't sell merch. You're not going to see any swords come out. You're not going to see any deals with United Cutlery. You're not going to see any action figures. You're not going to see any of that because they can't sell merch. They have absolutely no right to merch. And someone said, but Loki, why can they put stuff on books? Because Amazon's book division can change the Lord of the Rings books because of their deal with the Tolkien estate. So they can do covers. That's the only thing you're going to see. They cannot sell merchandise. So Amazon's got its hands cupped behind its back because all it can make is a limited series that can't go past 5 seasons and can't have more than I think 8 or 9 episodes per season. They're in a hole. All they get is their video content. They get nothing. They can't sell board games. They can't sell any of that other stuff.
And that's like Sony with Spider-Man, same thing, right? Marvel does get all of the money on the merch and the figures and stuff like that, even though all these films are getting made. Matt, you were going to say something?
Well, I was going to just amend with the Amazon stuff. Amazon I did like loads of videos on this thing. Amazon has to have at least 8 episodes per season because they're trying to make them do a TV show and not movies. Right? That was part of the way they signed it. And Amazon did that. I don't know if people pay attention to all this. Like when they built that $500 million studio and all that, because they thought they were going to get the movie rights to Lord of the Rings that just came up. Until this Glazer, what was the name? The Embracer Group came out of nowhere, you know, and they actually thought that they were going to get the total like package when it came to me because they wanted to remake the movies. And that's why they invested so much in this show. Like the executive Amazon could care less about the content of this show. There was some word that Bezos was actually surprised about that there was all this woke stuff in it. He didn't, because their target was to get the actual big deal, The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, and make TV shows and movies based on that, which would be,
Yeah, interesting. Okay, Chris Purge is explaining that's when they try to put out this little Amazon version of everything to try to get a few bucks that way. There are probably all sorts of little limited this and limited that. Again, everything is very contractual and that thing. So
and Loki, I thought when you mentioned Star Wars, I thought you were going to roll the camera all the way back to George Lucas's very interesting clause in his contract about merchandising rights to the Star Wars universe, and how that was really kind of like the big crack. And then what followed that was Transformers, Smurfs, and those crossovers of media and physical item purchasing, merch contracts, where that all started crossing over into McDonald's placements in the restaurant and in the film. Like those kinds of contracts allowed lawyers to step over ground they had never trod on before. That really kind of started the whole thing.
You're absolutely right. And part of that was originally Star Wars was going to be an indie film. So Star Wars started out as Lucas's like indie film, and it got picked up and funded by Fox because they were never going to have enough money to do it. And Fox had no faith in this going anywhere. So they were like, yeah, you can have whatever you want. You want merchandising rights? By all means, take the merchandising rights. Nothing's ever going to come of this. And they made a big mistake.
Yep.
Yeah, that deal is what made Lucas where he's at. So, again, folks, I don't know that I got everybody that got one of the incredible memberships that Shelley Lee donated. But if you haven't, click the little green button there to make sure that you allow gifts, so you could get a membership that she donated 10 of them. Thank you again to her, and congratulations to all of you that have got a membership. I appreciate you so much, and I appreciate you being here and hanging out with us, talking about stuff. There should be a link that's pinned to the top there. If you are already a member, you can jump in and join us. If you were a member before this started, so only the folks that were a member previously up till now, all of you now will be members for next time. So if I do my next giveaway, you'll be included in that little thing. So this was how I came up with that. And again, Stephen will get a laugh. This is that Jurassic World hat I was telling everyone about last night.
Nice.
I printed everybody's. So this is like a little printout of everyone's little logo. Let me sure I got this here. So like Old Gamer. Here's a picture of well, Ryan can't win because I can't ship this book overseas, but here's a Common Idiot. Everyone's in here. We're gonna pull that. We'll pull that person out here just a minute for the Golden Age Volume 4 Superman Encyclopedia book. Got to be U.S. I can't ship that internationally. My God, I can't imagine how much it would cost to ship internationally. So we'll pull that little person out. Then we'll do some other giveaways for some of the wax packs and things like that, a little different, and try to have some fun tonight too. So, what were you gonna say, Matt?
So, like, talk about the book rights, which are very convoluted too. I was in the library club in high school. That's where I learned all these book rules. So, like, this is the first American edition of the Unfinished Tales, right? So, let's say Amazon wanted to publish a book with a different cover. They don't go to the Tolkien estate for that. They go to whoever has the publishing rights for Unfinished Tales in the U.S. or whatever market they're going to release that in. If they want to put fake Sauron on the cover, you know, that's why there's so many different covers of these books. And if you go to like foreign countries with even more exotic images of not exotic in a sexual way, but you know what I mean? Like Tolkien would never. Tolkien was not an elaboratist in terms of imagery. You know, like he would never put like Sauron snapping someone's neck on one of his books, right?
Right.
I think there's a cover in one of the South Asian countries of Sauron literally ripping a dude in half. So
wow,
it's so funny.
You know, it's from like the 80s or something. You know.
Again, I just want to note, because we could go hyper specific into a specific IP and spend the whole stream like just literally just going down that rabbit hole. I want to note, and this is the epiphany I kind of had about this today, was that this has been going on a long time.
Oh yeah.
A lot of the language is extremely similar across the board. And I just wanted to mention to note that the whole thing with Harmony Gold and the property rights to Robotech.
Okay.
They basically bought the US rights, and because of their effort, quote unquote, alleged, still negotiating in court, their efforts to put Robotech on American screens, they possess some sort of right, and they've been able to block multiple projects. They've been able to sue people for imagery rights to a property that they just did a voiceover for, basically, and did an edit. It's crazy. It's crazy, some of the flexibility. And I bring it up again because these are the kinds of things that Amazon is kind of leveraging into the Tolkien universe. Because they own a little bit of it, they can stake claims to Galadriel's image. Galadriel's image.
So I want to connect the dots here, because I think these two things do work very, very closely together. And then Old Gamer is asking, how do I get a license plate novelty with the Pops logo? Listen, we just need to talk. So give your people, talk to my people, and we'll make that happen. Absolutely. If we can make, if that guy down there can make a Loki Zardoz, just saying. Who knows what can happen? Who knows what can happen?
Pops, so. I would start negotiations right now with the Florida prison system. I mean, they probably have the equipment on hand, and you could just hammer those things out for a good cause.
Oh my gosh, could you imagine people driving around with Pops logos? I don't know. I don't think so, but I wouldn't put anything past Florida at this moment in time. So
you could do an annual collectible plate of Pops 2023, Pops 2024.
Oh, we come up with different designs every year, different color schemes. Yeah. That's pretty funny. Yeah. So Ironcaster, my brother, the Talk Hard group is here, and now he's a member. Thank you again to Shelley Lee for that donation, but also, dude, thank you so much. You've been just part of everything for so much. Chris Persia's holding down the mod stuff, but this is actually, one of the other key moderators, key producers of everything that's happening. And we kind of continue to grow this mess. So thanks, brother. Thanks for joining the stream and hanging out with us, man.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just gotta hurry up and I was getting a little bit of last minute work, and I had thumbnails putting together before the stream.
Cool. So I think, Stephen, to answer kind of where you started all of this, and I think what Matt and Loki were really kind of going deep on was explaining some of those contractual type things. I think they go into these boardrooms. We're going to cut costs. We cut costs by not paying royalties. We don't pay royalties by making changes to characters. What changes can we make? And then all the woke people raise their hand and go, we can change their race. We can change their gender. We can make them this. We can make them that. And that's how it all has worked in conjunction. And then whenever people are objecting to it, because there's finances attached to it now you're going to try to protect it and the change because you don't want to have to undo it. And that's I think that is the better explanation of the whole sort of like broad picture.
Yeah, and the reason why they're allowing this kind of the weaponization of this political movement, right or wrong, right? Across the board, hand to God, right or wrong, God bless them, right? Whatever they want to do with their gender identity stuff and all that politics, nothing against it, nothing at all. I'm a human being. I have compassion. I get it. But they've been weaponized by this effort to unremember, declassify, diminish,
subvert
earlier properties so that they can, so they don't have to pay royalty checks. I mean, that's basically what's going on here, kids.
Well, I think
Matt, let me get to you in just 1 second, Matt. Before I get to you, Matt, let me just welcome Joker Voice, my brother. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being a member. Oh, but talk about the early supporter, man. This guy, he's just the best. Thank you so much, brother, for hanging out with us.
No, not this guy.
Hello, my brother in chaos. Are you jealous? I'm going to take your attention away.
It just reminds me how I think Stone Loki owes me a Peter Whalen Pops intro. I don't think he called his people to call the other people to get that done. So we need to get that done. And then I need to get with Joker to get some sort of a Joker voiced intro outro thing I can lay down as well. So I'll have to figure that out. Let the pops verse. I think Chris, is pops verse the appropriate term that he's tagged to this whole thing is pops verse, I think. So anyway, so derailed everything for a few minutes there. Go ahead, Matt. What were you trying to ask you?
I've got to ask the Joker real quick, just before we get right back into this. With two agents of chaos on the board, I think we could classify this question to be answered. Is Joker Loki in an alternate universe?
That's a good question.
I don't know.
Is the Joker Loki in another universe?
Yes, egos aside, though.
I don't think I consider Loki mentally ill.
Hey, I misunderstood.
Well, Loki's a god, but still, he's also a crocodile. So there's that.
It's an alligator, technically. Just sort of, call it for what it is. Yeah.
And I'm more partial to hyenas.
All right, so let's get
is involved. Anyway, Matt. Yes, sorry.
Yes, Matt. We'll go ahead, buddy.
Follow what Pop said about the guys in the boardrooms basically letting the woke people do what they want to do. That was a state, I think, 10 to 20 years ago. What made it really bad was over the last 10 years, the woke people started taking over some of these corporations, like the Disney board, for example. And so now they're not even looking to make money. They're looking to take the existing money and use that to inject the woke on the rest of us.
Okay. And of course, now, because of the way things transpired from 2015-16 into the pandemic, it's being subsidized. So on top of everything else, they've implemented ESG and subsidies and everything like that. So now, Padawannabe said earlier, money is now should be translated to our money, because it's actually infused in this. So Chris is confirming what I think we've agreed upon is Pop's verse. Yeah. So
nice.
Yeah. And if we can confirm the Joker brought fire to Gotham, that'd be close enough comparison. Fair enough. Yeah. Maybe.
Or are we in the Pops cycle? The popsicle?
No, we are not.
There's your first plate
Jokey.
theme there, popsicle.
Look at Ironcast. Yeah. So well, somebody finally. I mean, someone asked me. I will not call them out. Someone asked me, "Are all of the emojis or your little? Not they're not called. They're the member avatar things. Am I a Funko Pop because it's Pops?" I'm like, yes, you are. And actually, we have to give credit where credit is due, because he won't do it himself. He's to blame and credit to call them all Pops related stuff. I thought that was just like, wait a minute, how far down this rabbit hole should we go? Because it was like, we got the popsicles, and it was like, well, what about Pops? And it was like, well, what about Pop stuff? So now you can work your way along to be corn pops and everything else. So yeah, that's where that all came from. So
I was just thinking about what would you call casters, and since he's in such a sharky kind of mode of thinking all the time, where sharks are on his mind constantly, you could just call his people casters, because they would be what you toss into the water as a lure while fishing. So yeah, iron casters.
The idea I was thinking was just like different like sizes of metal. Like you start out as like a nugget or like and then you get to
a nugget. That's a
nice.
Yeah, then or
the highbrow could be lures, literally, and you spell it like lures in books and fiction.
You start out at like copper, then you work up to like tin, and then you get to be silver, then gold, and you get to be the top tier, the iron.
Nice. I like it.
Awesome. I like it too. So yeah. So all right. So what is some of the things that we'll do Ironcaster last, because I'll know exactly where he wants to go, that you guys are actually watching and enjoying right now. Let's throw out something positive that we're enjoying right now. Let's start with Loki. He's been quiet. Loki, are you still there? I wake him up.
I know.
He's probably doing three other things.
No, I am. I am doing three other things, but I'm here. I'm here. Positive.
What are you enjoying right now, bro?
Oh, okay. So I just rewatched Firefly.
Nice.
Always worth going back and check out the older stuff.
Oh yeah. I did enjoy the first episode of Picard, which was kind of crazy. So,
all right.
It's not like gold. I wouldn't say, oh my God, Star Trek is saved. But, I mean, it was good enough. It was good enough that some of it put a smile on my face. That's saying a lot.
I know a lot about smiles.
Smiley.
All right. What about you, Steven? Steven, you got anything that you've been watching or enjoying?
I'm actually dropping something into the chat, into the private chat, because I don't remember if I'm a wrench or not, but regardless, there's a lot of stuff going on YouTube with anime. I'm a big anime fan, and there's a lot of guys doing this interesting editing technique of, doing a small window, but now we can zoom in on iPads and phones. It really doesn't matter anymore. I watched this show called Cockpit. Now, this was a running series, I think, in Japan during right around the same time that like Herlock and Gundam were basically blowing up in that time scale. And it's 3 episodes about World War II moments that are kind of lampooning and at the same time criticizing the war effort by both the Nazis and the Japanese, by Japanese and Nazi officials. It's a classic, Japanese take on these things. It's called The Cockpit. And I think it's from like maybe early 90s, probably more in the 80s. It's got that Captain Herlock kind of look to it, the same kind of pen. But it's free on YouTube right now for anybody that's curious, with subtitles. And the aviation, the combat sequences are just unreal. They're just so well executed. All hand-drawn animations.
The creator of Harlock, Leiji Matsumoto, just passed away like yesterday or so. So it's like, rest in peace to him.
Really?
Yes.
Cool. Wow.
Yes.
Wow. That's a bizarre coincidence that we're talking about it when this happened. Wow. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, so we have to pause to say hello to Ryan Roger Athay from across the pond. Hail to the machine, my friend. He says he's been feeling a little under the weather, so hopefully you get upright, going strong, brother. Feel better. So thank you again. And Daryl the Derelict's been here. Oh, I didn't say hello to him. Thank you again, Daryl, for everything. Hopefully you can make it in when you get home from work. You can pop in here, at least say hey and hang out with us for a minute. What about you, Matt? Matt, what are you enjoying right now? What's something that you're watching or reading? You're like, this is soaking up some of my time, bringing me some love and happiness.
New stuff. Well, if you like horror TV,
It doesn't matter. It's just whatever you're enjoying right now.
The newest the TV show called The Rig. It's a horror TV show, British, which Amazon and Netflix call it an Amazon Netflix original because they just but it's 6 episodes. Stars a dude who played Jorah Mormont in Game of Thrones, but it's really good. It's like a sci-fi horror TV show. 6 episodes. I'm
what
also
is that
going
on?
back. Excuse me.
What is that on? Where can I find it?
It's on Amazon. I get it through other means.
I understand.
Yeah,
just didn't know if you knew.
I won't give Amazon any money I don't have to give them because of Rings of Prime.
It's okay. There's no condemnation. I have a yacht club membership. I understand.
But I do buy I will buy it on original media when the Blu-ray becomes available. I will support buying original media.
You like it that much? Good to know. Good
Just
to know.
not from Amazon. Yeah. Yep.
That's funny.
And as far as another TV show that I was surprised how much I'm enjoying it. There was this Teen Wolf TV show that MTV or Paramount did a couple years ago. They released a movie for it. Reminds me of Buffy and Angel.
Oh, nice.
It's the closest thing to Buffy and Angel that's been out since Buffy and Angel.
See, yeah, you were talking the other night, Pops, about satire.
Yeah.
And parody.
Oh yeah, parody. Mm-hmm.
And Joss, I'm sorry, I don't know how anybody on the panel feels about the guy or his work or the attachment of both, right? But man, talk about a gentleman of parody, a gentleman of consequence. He wrote just exactly what you're talking about. He literally, you could say it's like Buffy, and people will be like, "Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about." It got that big. It's that influential on the landscape.
Yeah.
Whedon has always been good. Whedon has always been good at small dialogue. He was really good at it. Probably the scene in the after party scene in Ultron is probably one of the best just single scenes there is. It's too bad that his real life caught up to him publicly like it did.
Yeah, and I'm still not convinced that that's as accidental as we think it is. But.
Oh, it is not accidental at all. I will say it's my channel. I can say that. Okay, so farewell to Shelley Lee. Thank you, lady, for hanging out. Thank you again for the very, very generous donation of 10 memberships. It's been awesome. It's just gonna make the next month so much more exciting to know there's that many more people that can now participate and join, and we can come up with other ideas of things that we can do and share. So thank you again, Shelley, for all you do and supporting me. Appreciate you so much, lady. Be safe, be strong, talk hard. All right, Ironcaster. I said I'd take you last, but I'm going around in the circle so I don't get too confused in my old age. What is the latest, greatest in the Ironcaster rotation, whether it be watching, reading, enjoying?
Well, it's actually, I've got 2 comics that I'm reading right now. One I have coming up for a stream on Friday, so check out Nick Weiser's on Friday, before this guy's stream.
Gotcha.
That would be the Dave Stevens Rocketeer. I'm finally getting to check that out for the first time, which is the original run.
The original,
that guy
the OG Stevens
reinvented
run.
Iron Man. That's exactly what I was talking about. He kind of reinvented Iron Man and gave us the ultimate version that eventually came out. It was the same pen, I think, the artist.
Okay, I'll have to look into that now.
Rocketeer takes me back.
I love that movie. Love it to pieces.
I saw that movie. So again, if any Florida people are out there, and if you're in Tampa and know where the USF is, when I was at school at USF, Rocketeer is in a theater. It's this little tiny theater called Varsity 6. It is not in a nice neighborhood. We saw Rocketeer. There was no one in the theater. It was just the 3 of us. Like, we were just total goofball college kids having a theater all to ourselves for this private screening. And it was one of my best memories ever. I actually spoke to one of my friends about it. I says, weren't you the third person? Because I knew who one of them was. I couldn't remember which of my other friends. We're like, yeah, that was the best. I mean, we were there by ourselves. So yeah, Rocketeer. You were making me want to read Rocketeer now, Eric Asher. Good job. That's the whole point of this conversation. So good.
Oh, Jennifer.
And so I have
Jennifer Connelly.
There's one other book I've been reading and just kind of getting into for the first time now. That would be the all new Teen Titans. And I'm sorry, kitchen noises.
Wolfman. Oh my gosh. Yes. Marv. Oh my gosh. Joker, I think that was one of the ones I recommended for you. Is like, that is the run, man. Wolfman he nails that stuff. Yeah. Very good recommendations. That brings you happiness and joy. I can tell. I know. So what about you, Joker? Go ahead.
Oh, no.
Go ahead.
I'm on issue 7-8 now, so I just got through seeing like Cyborg kind of reconciling with his father and having this, heartfelt. I'm like, oh, I freaking love this. Only for him to like immediately go back to try and meet his girlfriend again, who's like cast him out because like no, she recoils at the sight of him. It's like, oh no, man, what are you gonna do, Vic?
Yeah,
but this is the Perez run. Where
Wolfman
does this
and
fit
Perez
into the landscape of the DC?
The
new Teen Titans.
1980. So this is the original run where like those characters premiere.
Okay. Yes. Okay. That's what I had in mind.
The Judas Contract is the famous arc, and then of course you have the introduction of Nightwing, where Dick Grayson becomes Nightwing. Just beautiful character development. Like you were really, really immersed into like superhero development that was just done really, really well. And of course, Perez is he just nails the art. He's just got it right. He is creating the look of those characters for that sort of era, basically.
Yeah, Perez became like a John Byrne to the DC universe, and then John Byrne became the John Byrne to the DC universe when he did Superman. But
Superman and Wonder Woman, yeah,
fantastic. But Perez,
what are you gonna say, Matt?
Gorgeous.
No, just that to me that the 1980s was the best era of comic books ever. That especially post Chrysler DC, but Marvel with Jim Shooter running the company, everything's been downhill since then in a lot of ways.
They were true, almost blood kin sons inheriting the industry, and they were doing it with reverence because they truly admired the Kirbys and the Ditkos, right? And they paid them homage in their stories. John Byrne's Fantastic Four run was almost praise to the birth of the Fantastic Four in the Marvel universe.
Well, not only that, they were like 55 cents a copy. You can get a bunch of great comics in the 80s and early. Right up until 1990, basically, and then it shot up to $1, $1.50, $1.95, and it was then
we started getting feature films.
Yeah, Ryan,
that was
feel better, brother.
Where you were having,
I was saying, Ryan, feel better, and
X-Men
keep in touch.
Going back and forth.
Night, Ryan.
All right. So let's get back around to Joker. What are you reading, watching, enjoying right now? What brings you happiness and joy, my friend?
I've been on a Constantine kick, which happens every now and then. So at work, I have been rewatching the Justice League Dark animated movies. And last night I watched the Keanu Reeves Constantine, and what actually made that interesting is I'm playing Matt Ryan's voice in my head for each scene, and how Matt Ryan would handle those scenes. And it's actually not a bad. It's actually take Keanu Reeves out, put Matt Ryan in, and change his origin to where it's supposed to be. It's not a bad film.
AI, there's an AI for that. I think there'll be an AI for that next season.
It's not as bad as its reputation is. It's still not a good film. It needs some cleanup. No. It needs a script doctor, and of course the casting is just an abomination. And it was at the time like everyone was just like, no, we're not doing that. Well, I guess they are doing this. Okay, well, no, we're not going to go see it and enjoy it. But okay,
it's a guilty pleasure of mine. It's the physical execution of the mysticism that I really thoroughly enjoyed. I thought she did a wonderful job as Gabriel. And the presentation of her as an angel in camera on set, it just blew my mind. It was just so good. The depiction of these creatures in camera was so well executed, in my opinion.
I thought
there were some good moments.
I thought the casting was wrong for almost the entire film.
I'm sure. It's just, I would feel the same
Yeah,
way about
Kinfolk
any
certainly
good
would have been
book I
better at
read.
playing the devil or Lucifer. Well, problem is Constantine's never actually met Lucifer, the real Lucifer.
Right.
Yeah. So, but she looked more like Lucifer than the character in the actor and you know.
And then and then tonight I'll probably be watching the another animated Constantine City of Demons. So
I thought
oh,
the casting for the devil in the movie with Keanu Reeves,
mhm.
he gave you that sleazy dad that would beat the hell out of his own kid. You know,
Right.
that
Mhm.
drunk dad that wakes up that's like, "What are you doing up, boy?" and just would beat the crap out of. That's that feeling I got when I was watching that. I was like, "This,
Yeah.
it's that sleazy, slimy."
Mm-hmm.
If
Yeah,
And
he played it
and
quiet too. He played it
and he's
real quiet. It's good.
yeah, he's the he you well, Loki, right? He's the what you doing, boy, or you need to go to your room, little. See, Daddy will be in later.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Not the morning star that you see depicted. You know, oh, he was the most angelic. No, this was an
see,
evil.
actual comic Lucifer is an apathetic nihilist. He just doesn't care unless he finds it interesting or it's going to interfere with his plans. Like
Yeah.
they tried to portray it as Lucifer in that movie, but it wasn't. I'm not going to go into the complicated reason for this, but Constantine's diabolic enemy is Satan, the first of the fallen, who's a demon who pretended to be Lucifer, which to, again keep out of the lore of that. And that's the sleazy character, the one. So he acted kind of like how Satan would, but he was pretending to be Lucifer. You know, like the in terms of what they were putting in the movie.
Gotcha.
And I get this had to simplify for the audience. I understand that it was a 2-hour movie, blah blah blah. But when you read these great comics, when you read Sandman and then Mike Carey, which had the reinvention of Lucifer, so to speak, and then you read Mike Carey's follow up that with Lucifer comic, which is two of my favorite comics of all time, and you see what they do to it. I still can't watch that Lucifer TV show. I still can't. I tried. I said,
I
okay.
wanted. So officially to say farewell to Anonymous. I'm glad he was able to stop by at least for a minute. And hello to Mr. Grant Gregory. Hail to you, my brother. Thank you for everything. But yeah, if any of you are members and you'd like to hop in, the link should still be pinned at the top. You are more than welcome to join us for a bit if you can. Ironcaster is going to have to bail out as well. So I appreciate him stopping in. Welcome to the Pops Club there, being a Funko Pop. We're very happy to have you. So thank you so much. And it's great to be able to hang out with you too, man. And I thank you for taking me back to some Rocketeer love. That made my day, actually, to be honest. And I'm like, oh man, I need to rewatch the movie and read some comics because that'd be a good fit for the old Pops verse.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, Ironcaster. Yeah, it's sometimes things are going on there. So, all right. Well, that was good. I'm telling you guys, I'm really, really enjoying Mayors of Kingstown. It is raw. It is rough and tumble. I have to hit fast forward a lot because it is definitely much darker, edgier, Sopranos-esque with nudity, profanity, and violence than Tulsa King. But if you like Tulsa King, you're going to love Mayor of Kingstown. And I will say Mayor of Kingstown also made me very angry because it's rooted into sort of like the real life conversations that we might have about the prison system and gang violence and all those kinds of things, corruption. Very fascinating show, incredibly well executed program. I'm sorry that I got in so late is my only complaint about that. I dropped today my video on King of Spies, the Mike Millar series. Only 4 issues. I thought it was longer than that. I guess that's the reason I avoided. I don't know why. I just didn't know it was only 4 issues. It is freaking fantastic. I mean, it is a fast read. Reads like a movie script. It is violent, chaotic, brilliant. I loved it. That was great. So that's the.
I'm not familiar with the character. Is he from a specific? Is he from a certain pantheon? I mean, DC,
I don't
Marvel.
think so. I think it was just a unique Mark Millar creation and it's a Image is running with it. He's connected to this agreement that Mark has with Netflix. So I don't know if they're going to do what type of adaptation may be in the works. I tried to look and I didn't see an adaptation announced exactly. So it reads like a movie script. Like it totally is something like that. So
Yeah.
And all right, so we
that's
have
cool, man.
another member here.
That's cool. Hey, original IPs,
brother from
man.
another
That's
brother.
what we need. That's what we really need right now.
Yeah, but Mark Millar stuff, the Millar verse is freaking great stuff. And hat tip to Wakazashi's Tea House for that recommend because it's great. Daryl, brother, the Vac Tube, how are you doing, my friend?
I just heard profanity, nudity, and violence, and I was like, "Oh, hey,
That sounds like my kind of party, y'all.
I start talking about all the raunchy stuff, and Daryl shows up. Coincidence? I think not. So
He was talking King of Spies, Daryl. Hey, what's happening, man?
nice."
Well,
Good.
that also,
Hey,
but
yo.
obviously Mayor of Kingstown. They're both
Right.
high recommends. I don't get to be high. I don't get to jump on the high recommends very often. So, and actually, Mayor of Kingstown's was so good. I wasn't more than 3 or 4 episodes in, and I actually text Loki. Loki, it's that good. So yeah, get to it. Mags is saying, hey, she told me earlier she wasn't going to be able to hang out with us tonight. She got some stuff going on there. But listen, our good wishes to you, lady. Thank you for everything. Thank you for supporting and being a member. And love a chance to get a chance to talk to you, spend time with you some more. So, Daryl, my friend, what's going on with you, brother? Anything new?
Just got off work. Actually, I got off work a little early, so.
So, the question that we went around with was, what are you watching or enjoying right now? Whether it be something, movie, TV, maybe you're reading a book, a comic, something like that. What's bringing you some happiness and joy, my friend?
I've been on a nostalgia kick lately. This past Sunday, I rewatched the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Nice.
I am about to start the original Star Wars trilogy tonight, and probably going to start Firefly Friday.
Cool. I
Is that a first time? Are you
No.
first time Firefly?
No. I
Okay,
watched it when
okay.
it was on Sci-Fi before Sci-Fi went
Roger.
Sci-Fi.
Roger that. Yeah.
Sifi.
But I haven't seen it since its first run, and they've been
Oh.
showing it on a local TV channel up here or down here. And I was like, you know what? And I told somebody in my family that I liked it, and they got it for me for Christmas. And I was like, well, it's time to crack that sucker open.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know what? You're gonna have a real good time with that, man, because it's
Oh, I loved it.
down
when it
home
was a run.
cooking. It's no joke. That whole show is just down home cooking, man. It's just, I'm so glad the boys and I got together. It's like, damn, man, what a great
That's pretty
family. What a great build. What a great slow simmer. It's so good. It's just so delightful, well executed. And again, Joss, his characters and his sub characters and his world is just reinvents the wheel every single time. It's so good.
Hey, Matt, what were you going to say?
I got some. We were talking about Mary Kingstown, so I just went to look something up for it. Look out! This is one of the guys who created that. Look at all the awesome stuff this dude has done.
Taylor Sheridan? Oh, yeah.
I got the
Yellowstone, all the
IMDb there.
spinoffs.
So he wrote Sicario.
Sicario. The first Sicario is okay. That needs to. I'm writing down the Sicario. Thanks for that reminder about Sicario because that needs to be one of our tar cards.
He did that Hell or High
Sicario
Water.
is a gem. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Production. He's previously. I mean, he did Tulsa King as a producer.
Yep.
He's
a co-creator on Tulsa King. Yeah. This is Taylor. Yeah, I think I did. I don't know which video it was I did, but I think I said Taylor Sheridan is probably the most talented creator currently right now with his resume. And he's cross-pollinated with the Sopranos, Boardwalk Empire people, that kind of thing. So it's Terrence. Anyway, I can't remember his last name. Anyway, so it's those folks that are behind this stuff that's just it's so exceptional and so good. I don't even know what to say. It's just
and
it's
I
incredible.
just learned something new. This Hugh Dillon, who's the co-creator of
he plays Ian.
Look who he is. We've seen this guy in tons of stuff as an actor.
Yeah, he plays Ian. Yeah.
So Pops, I have to ask: Is Mayor of Kingstown like mob genre or something, or what is it?
All right. So the short version of being able to explain this would be there's like 7 prisons in like 10 miles. So it's like 20,000 prisoners. So you have all of the gang infrastructure that you can imagine. And I don't care how racist it sounds, it's the best way to explain it. There's the whites. So it's the Aryan Brotherhood. There's 2 sets of blacks. It's the Crips and the Bloods. And there's the Hispanics. So the mayor is technically the ambassador. It's the peacekeeper. He's allowed to work with the police, the SWAT, the state police, the attorney general, all of the leadership in the prison and out of the prison, because anything that happens always has a consequence. They waste no time doing that. And there's a Russian oligarch that is being housed in one of these prisons. So he's also a crap stirrer in the middle of all this. And it is literally an examination of trying to keep the peace, trying to figure out how some of these negotiations work, how the corruption works, because things really hinge on a tragic death, right? A meth situation gone bad, and the police want something done here. And when the prisoners agree to it, they're just like, they're not really getting what they're asking for. They don't understand the price tags on the street. And the mayor he's got streetwise, right? But there's so much family drama. It's like The Sopranos was, right? Yes, it was about a mafia show, but it was also more about family, right? You really, really cared about Tony's family. And with this show, you really, really do care about a lot of these other characters and things like that. So really enjoy the show.
You know,
Okay, that's cool.
Given the creators, is it in the same universe as Yellowstone?
Oh, I don't know exactly how they're intertwining things together. I'd be trying to mislead anybody if I thought that I've actually gotten through Yellowstone. I got in too late on Yellowstone. There's too much of it. I haven't gotten to it. So,
but he's gotten like I'm a Yellowstone junkie now. He has 1883, the one season of it. That not going to be sequels. Then there's 1923, which is really good. The first spinoff. There's a 666 spinoff, which is coming out in I think the fall or whatever, and another spinoff being talked about. So I'm wondering if this guy's creating, same way Dick Wolf created the Law and Order universe with all 9 active shows going on right now. So.
Yeah, I don't know. Jacob Ironside, he's throwing down some books. He's reading Tom Clancy. And I can tell you what, man, Tom Clancy is in some ways a hard read and also an easy read. In other words, it's very technical and detailed, and there's a lot of depth to it. But at the same time, you get so immersed in it, it becomes a page turner, even though it is difficult to read at times. And I really do. I really enjoy reading them.
Big recommendation for Clancy is to listen to him speak publicly. There's a few YouTube channels that have got some of his stuff up. It's fantastic to hear his candor and then revisit the books. It kind of opens them up in much the same way that Shakespeare opens up when you see it performed as opposed to on paper. Just to hear the man think out loud, hear his humor and his rhythm, it's like the book just changes completely after that.
That Jack Ryan TV show is an affront to Clancy, by the way. Is mockery of they're literally stripping out. I'm not saying you have to like Clancy because there's right-wing politics in the books, but his setting is based around right-leaning politics. If you know what I mean, if those read it, they're literally stripping it out and putting a entirely different set of politics, changing a certain character of villains into heroes to make them strong women. It's just disgusting to try to even watch it.
I just thought it was just so horribly drawn out and bland. I just didn't care for it. Just made a Jack Ryan concept just another vanilla. It could have just been called anything else. It didn't need to be Jack Ryan. If that's the case, you've done it wrong.
Yeah, it's just.
Hey, Pops, just off the top of your head, this is kind of like a little experiment to make a point. Did you ever read the original appearance of She-Hulk in the comic book?
The Savage She-Hulk. Yep.
Right. And how was that? Would you say it was like kind of like drawn out, a little bland, not unnecessary to the universe, but it was okay. It was well executed.
I liked it. I always wondered why it didn't catch on at the time, but I wasn't reading comic books when it came out. Obviously, it predated me. And by the time I was into comic books, she was already rebranded and represented as Sensational She-Hulk. It was the John Byrne run.
Yeah, for me.
And she was already like within the Fantastic Four and stuff like that. So for me, I was a little late to the party of She-Hulk. And I got to be honest, I'm never a massive fan of She-Hulk. I enjoy it more now, like when I reread a lot of the issues. Things like that. So anyway, before we get further, Stone Loki has to drop. He also has to get ready for his show. Probably has to get some food.
I gotta get some
Mr. Mischief's going.
Take
Brother,
care,
love you.
Pops.
Thanks
for having me. Thanks for having me. Good night, everybody. Daryl, greetings program. Later.
Greetings program, brother.
Hell yeah, brother. Take care, guys.
You too.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much. Hail to all of you in chat. If I missed calling you, I'm sorry. We were just totally immersed in all of this. I know Bifers popped in here, and those kinds of things are happening. So that kind of thing.
Hey,
I know other
Dempsey.
folks may be trying to get in here too. So I want to get to my top of the hour because I kind of got to it. I'm going to have to make myself larger here to do this. So for those of you who didn't come in late for this, Jurassic World, making use of the crappy hat, but it's okay. Everyone. Let's see. So I printed out everybody's little. So in order to get the prize for the February prize, you had to be a member before this stream. Again, thanks to Shelly with the 10 members that were donated during this stream, but only those folks were entered to win the Golden Age Superman hardback that we're going to draw for. So that's what I'm going to draw a name, get someone out. Everyone's in here. They get their little shot. The only person that there's a couple of you that are international, and I don't think I can make Chris Persia take a gift from me. I don't know. He's just too charitable and that kind of thing. So stirring it all up. We're just going to randomly grab someone and see what happens here. This will be your book. Oh, Captain Fandom Nerd.
Nice.
Captain Fandom Nerd.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen him drop in here, but the Cap. I will have to reach out to the Cap. The Cap got the book. So I'll mail that out to him the next week. So if anybody you see or talk to him, you can give him a little congrats from me on that. So pretty cool. And then everything else will kind of open up a little bit more to even everybody that's in chat as well. Just kind of more of just a fun stream kind of thing. We'll give away some of these wax packs. As I always like to open up the Padawannabe challenge, as I have called it, where if you want to open that pack and chew that gum, do it on video and send me that link so I can add it to my channel and the hopefully the Padawannabe playlist of us eating 40-year-old gum. So we'll have to decide what kind of packs we can give away here. We have I definitely want to do Batman. So we'll do a set of 89 Batman. We'll do a Joker and a regular.
A what? A me? What?
Yeah, I know. Look at that. Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty.
Originals. And we'll do a Black Hole. That's the gum I chewed. I chewed one of those.
Good film. Underrated film.
An underrated film. Yeah, indeed. So with that, I thought I would I'd take a quick moment. You guys can have a laugh at my expense. Because as much as everyone thinks I know a lot about comic books, it's not above reproach. Like you make mistakes and you do things and you get things wrong. So I thought I would share. So I went and got my stack of graded comic books that come back as you would want. So let me I don't need to make it big. So this is an Alex Ross cover. This is the Shazam Justice alternate variant cover. It's one of my favorite. I love these. These are beautiful. There's a Superman one as well. So I sent this off and it came back and I was like, what on earth happened? It's an 8.5. I'm like, what on earth? Well, come to find out that on the back, the way sometimes if you allow them to be flat for too long, you'll get some things like that. And sure enough, there's a spot on the back that I didn't notice. So it needs to be pressed and cleaned to get that little bump out. And I did not notice that bump. So that's how sensitive grading is. That's the reason why I thought I would use some of these examples, because at least you'd have an idea of that. I wanted to get to one that was really pretty bad. So everybody knows how much I love Frank Miller. My gosh, I sound like a broken record. The first Miller Daredevil.
Oh God, that makes me feel
retail.
Look at the price, 40 cents.
40 cents. Yeah, 40 cents. First Miller Daredevil, right? So I send it off. I am so full of myself, thinking that this is blah, blah, blah. Came back a 7. I was like, oh my gosh. I was devastated. I'm like, oh my gosh, what on earth? So on this one, there is some minor stress marks, not on the front. You have to flip it over on the back. And there's a couple of spots right in through here I didn't see. Again, it has to go through. So when I say pressing, they actually have processes that you can pay to have this done, and they can get some of those out. Now, I will admit on that one, I didn't expect it to be like a perfect score or anything like that, but there's no way I expected a 7. It shouldn't be a 7. They can press that out. So hopefully it will be a 9, 9,
So
2,
what you're
something
saying?
like that.
So what you're saying is, Pops, is that your backside has issues.
These backsides had issues. Yes. These backsides have. That is the most common mistake that I appear to have. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
With
Daryl.
ironic
Thank-
redundancies, we are talking about comic book issues having issues with their issues, right?
Yeah.
about their backsides.
About their
Yeah.
backsides.
Yeah. And this one I just missed because it was white. So yeah, I know how racist of me.
You said it, not me.
So this is an extremely rare. So this logo is what makes it rare, by the way. The Superman thing. So it's extremely rare. But because it's white, I missed the stress marks. So the way you can tell is because it transitions in the color at the binding, and you have to look for the separation in the color. So you almost have to look at you have to look at it at an angle like this to see them, to figure out where they are. So yeah, I totally blew it on this one and got a 7.5. So yeah. So
it's hard
yeah,
to
I
see
thought I would
stretch
share
marks
some of
on
my
the white
blunders of what's that, Daryl?
Nothing.
What did you say?
I said something kind of untoward, but I said, yeah, it's kind of hard to notice stretch marks on a white one.
Oh, and can of worms just opened up. Sorry, folks. I just took this
Well,
away.
It was his words, not mine. So, okay. Let's see.
I apologize. I make fun of everybody.
No, you're fine. I'm ashamed. So, let's see. I don't know if did I miss any questions or comments in chats that are in here. Oh man, my chat thing keeps moving. So as soon as I touch it, it moves slow. No, I think I got most things in here.
But Pops,
lots of great back and forth. Yep.
Pops, just seeing you bring out that Daredevil comic, it just brings every worry I have. I'm just like, oh dear God, or not the worry. It's not even a fear. It's just cringe now. I'm like, oh God, Disney, you bastards, you're gonna destroy Daredevil. I know you are. There's no way you're gonna do Frank Miller justice. And if anybody, which you should, I mean, I'd say it's a safe bet. If you like that Netflix Daredevil series, kiss that goodbye. You're never seeing that again on TV.
Yep. Where is my box
I
set,
couldn't agree more.
darn it? For crying out loud, can we please have a physical media copy of Netflix's Daredevil, all 3 seasons, 1 box set, the hell with Defenders, and Punisher too? It's like, I don't know, where did physical media go? Has it been banned? Are we no longer allowed to have or ask for? Should Netflix start a burning service?
I doubt. I mean, I know there were some things that were released, but definitely not as a box set. So I'm not quite sure I understand what. Again, we're talking about contracts for so long earlier. I would just be shocked if any of that stuff is remotely an option now. I could think it may have been an option back in the day, but not now. So
yeah.
And I actually enjoyed the Jessica Jones series. So
the only one of those series I thought really sucked was the Defenders. That was just
Yeah.
I mean, the first season of Luke Cage, I loved because I love that 1970s blaxploitation atmosphere, Shaft, and all that.
Yeah, I thought that was also well executed. It fit right in with the atmosphere they were trying to portray. He was the big, lovable giant that saved kids and pussycats out of trees, and he was a really, 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 really good guy. Someone your mom would appreciate you hanging out with. You know what I mean? Like, it was really wholesome. They did a really, really good job with that, and I liked it.
No.
Especially when you got the 3 of them together.
The first half of season 1, yeah.
I will say,
I said the first half of season 1 was just perfect on that show. I loved it.
Yeah.
I will say,
I was digging some of the science fiction aspects of it too, where they started to get into the effects of his anatomy because of his super strength, right? Like, how do you get a needle into this guy to give him aid, right? It's like,
you don't.
I will say that Iron Fist series was the first example of the bait and switch they do with all this woke stuff, where they literally stole the hero's show from him in the second season.
Right. Yep.
Hmm.
Very true.
Yeah.
What was the name of the character on? Go
What
ahead,
was that,
Pop.
Steven?
Oh, I was
No,
just
go
going to
ahead.
make. I was just going to make a joke. What was the name of the character that tried to sell stuff on Sesame Street? It's like, hey man, I got a letter. I got the letter G.
Oh,
Buy the letter G.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was just thinking
yeah.
about that. That might be another way to discuss instead of the high seas or yachting or anything like that. That would be like, yo man, what's the name of that
Muppet
character?
reference.
Yeah,
Well,
use the
that's
Muppet reference.
Well, I mean,
That's how my
technically,
father got
OBS
a
can
copy of
record
Star
full
Wars.
Screen, so, I mean, if you could, I don't know, happen to have OBS recording while you happen to be playing Netflix or Amazon, I mean, just an accident,
Yeah.
Well, going back to Daredevil real quick, I looked it up on Amazon. They have Netflix season 1 and 2 on Blu-ray for $45.
They do now.
Wow.
Well, is it a
Mm.
legit copy, or is it like someone posting their own like rip of it?
They did make some, so it probably is legit. I just don't know that it definitely wasn't widely marketed or anything like that. Because I had them earmarked for a while. I just don't pay that kind of money for that kind of stuff. I usually find it. But yeah, there's some.
It's ST Media Group.
Yeah, that sounds like a secondary company. It's bizarre. I just don't get it. And
Yeah,
Netflix
I'm
started
over
out
on
as a
Blu-ray.com
DVD
looking up
service.
things
It's odd that they wouldn't go for it, but they
Agreed.
did some really good packaging and media marketing design for Stranger Things with the VHS cassettes. I own a
dude, that was
copy of
sick.
that on VHS. I thought that was great. That was a lovely addition to the lore of it. So
Jacob Ironside has given Iron Fist a thumbs down. Yeah, I couldn't get
what
to
a
that
disaster.
show. It just drug on and on and on and on. I don't hate the poor kid that got cast or anything like that. I just felt like that show just went nowhere. It's just Finn Jones.
Finn Jones. Yeah, Finn Jones.
You had to read the comic to understand what was going on.
And the Muppet. And I hadn't read the comic in a long time, and I didn't even care to. Like, it shouldn't even entice me to. And by the way, Steven, I had to look it up because my OCD is like that. The Muppet in question is Lefty. Lefty the salesman is the trench-coated Muppet going around and selling
there you
these
go.
shady
See, you had to
things
talk to
and
Lefty.
So
You had to talk to Lefty about it, and that would be.
yeah,
I'm going to use that one.
Might
myself,
see
actually.
Lefty to find a copy of that.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure Lefty's got a copy.
They
I'll
were
take
adapting
one
Brubaker's
DVD.
run on Iron Fist.
Sorry.
Was that Daryl?
I was going to say,
I'm
they were
sorry,
adapting-
Matt.
I'll
What do you-
take one DVD.
Oh, yeah, the Count.
Go ahead, Matt.
Well, they were adapting Brubaker's run on Iron Fist when he revitalized the character. I think in was it the early 2000s or so with the seven Soldiers of Heaven and all that. And I was so disappointed. All these interesting sort of 70s Hong Kong action movie style characters just got ruined and just literally got ruined. The Bride of Nine Spiders, like this creepy goth chick warrior who literally fights with spiders. Dog Soldier #1, all these interesting characters, and just man, even when they introduced Liu Kang the Thunder, who's also a legit badass character, and I was like, that's all they're going to do with him?
Yeah.
Really, that's all I'm going to do with him.
It's crazy that black and white footage got me really excited as to what they were planning, what they could have done. Does anybody remember that from the beginning of Iron Fist? They showed this black and white footage of the previous Iron Fist.
That's his grandfather.
He's in costume, right? He's using the Iron Fist. He's taking out an entire squad of Chinese troops trying to invade I was like, man, if they could pull this off in this show, this is gonna kill it, man. And they never did it. Seriously, you're gonna tease us like that? It's so obvious you could do it. He was deadly. He was crazier than Captain America. How fast he moved. It was.
You gotta. Well, I'm sure that Finn Jones wanted to show his face more. So already you're not going to get the classic look.
Yep. And that's why we need to continuously pay
True.
homage to Carl Urban and Hugo
Dredd.
Weaving
For Dread.
for V and Dread. Okay,
Mhm.
they're
Yeah,
simple names.
they were like, they wanted Urban to take the mask off. He was like, no, it's not the character.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or have him put it on as a beat
Uh,
in the show. Like, he's putting that mask on. You guys are done. You guys are just done. Forget it. Don't even bother. You're done.
Daryl's going to have to go soon, but I want to give him a chance to chime in a little bit more about VacTube and some of the stuff going on and what you're watching, what you're into covering right now and talking about.
Well, funny enough, we never really have a plan going into a show. Sometimes we have a subject we want to touch on, and then it's just basically a bunch of guys sitting around at the bar bullshitting. But last Friday, we touched on the subject of, friends of YouTube, friends on YouTube going after each other and stuff like that, and the dissension and the fandom and the fellowship and all that stuff. And man, we went 3.5 hours, and we hadn't done that in a long time.
Wow.
But it was a really good show. And Friday nights, we're on every Tuesday, Friday, and Saturday. Friday nights is always never a plan. We just show up, start drinking, and talk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't know I don't know how it works, but it just does. We
That
just
sounds
get
like
in
a
there and
plan.
start talking, and something comes up, and then we go with it. And it has worked for almost 2 years.
Nice.
Well, actually, it has been 2 years.
I'm
But
going to
like
share
I
this
said,
link
we're
that Daryl had put out here so everybody gets it. The link that you did earlier, I just didn't copy and paste it in there. I don't think we got to. So it has Comet TV. It's got Firefly, SG1, Outer Limits, Godzilla, etc.
Yeah.
So that's out there as well.
That's just a local
sharing
TV
that.
channel here, and you can watch it all online too. It's got all the good stuff.
Okay. And
And if you have a
Matt
Roku,
gave
look
us
at-
the
look through all those channels they have on Roku. A lot of times you can find some stuff in there. They have hundreds and hundreds of channels now.
So yeah, I found, so when I did my I did a throwback Thursday on Godzilla. So on Pluto at the bottom there's an on-demand button, and that is where I found the uncut Japanese version of the Godzilla films. And then over on Tubi, they have a whole long list of all the Godzilla movies. So I have only done a few. I've only done like 5 movies. I haven't done a whole bunch, but I did do some. Poor Mrs. Pops, baby. She was rocking and rolling. We're sitting there listening to Godzilla in the background. She was like, I have it. I'm like, okay, as long as you're cool, we'll just keep going. So
There goes
yeah,
Tokyo,
we were kinda,
so goes Godzilla.
Oh my
yeah,
god!
go Godzilla. All right.
I just found what I can blow my
so-
tax return on. So I am a fan of all the old 70s Hong Kong action movies and all that. And the Shaw Brothers, my ringtone for text.
Martial arts gold right there.
This is a box set of this is volume 2 of their box. Thursday Chamber of Shaolin. Oh my god! The Kid with the Golden. I might have to stop watching and go buy this. Man. It's like that or the Hammer film. I blew like $50 on a Hammer Films collection. It was a good collection. It was all their like rarer films. So so I got only $50. But man, and I'm just so afraid that if you don't get this now, like they're gonna destroy these films. With all the wokeism, and I'd rather have it so I can own it. And I have copies of this stuff in one form or other already, plus on my media server. But like to have it in Blu-ray, pristine, I can store these things. If I have to re-rip it, because I lose my hard disk with the media, I can always re-rip it. And I never thought I would get to the point where I get, again, I'm not opposed to the woke people creating content they can enjoy. You know what I mean? It's a big world. But I never thought it would get to the point where it would destroy my content too,
Agreed.
Just so
'Cause I've been covering
Well-
stuff for so long. It was always at the indie films. It was always the indie films. I want to finish with. I want to go back to VacTube real quick. Joker, put a pin in that thought real quick for me. So this is one thing I loved about this group of YouTubing and people that I've met was the fact that everything was so different and yet so welcoming. So here I am, some old guy. No one knew. I didn't really know how to stream yet, whatever. And it was like meeting different people. And what's just like the thing about VacTube was I could just turn it on and listen. It was like hangout time and that kind of thing. So the fact that I've gotten to know them, I've been invited on their show and just be able to hang out with them, stuff like that. So sometimes we just need that too. And YouTube has that to offer for us. And I think that is what I'm so glad, Daryl, you're able to make it and we can talk about you and your channel because of that too. It's like, yes, we all want to talk about our movies and our comic books and stuff we're doing. But sometimes, you know what? Let's just sit, chill out, and talk to one another and hang out and that kind of thing too. And I think that's what you do and your group does so well.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's awesome. So
Yeah.
thanks
Well,
for being able to
the
make
motto
it, bro.
of our
I know you
channel
got it going on.
Is
Yep,
the
go ahead.
VacTube's place you can cuss, drink, say what you think, and let your freak flag fly.
Mhm.
There is
It
no
is a
holds barred on
free-for-all.
our channel. Yes.
I have walked into some crazy stuff, to be honest. Yes, indeed.
Usually at the most
Uh,
awkward times too.
Yeah,
So-
usually, there's that too. Pops is here. Like, oh my gosh, what has happened? So yeah, that's okay.
It's one of those. So it's
But
basically a
want to
bar.
make sure I gave
Yeah.
special props for that. So
Yeah, you walk into a bar, you see this crowd
indeed.
of people sitting at a table just drinking and laughing. That's us.
I bartend, so there's not much I haven't seen or heard. So or
And I
John.
usually bartend while we're streaming, so but it's just me.
Yeah.
I'm my favorite bartender.
I
Well,
mentioned
thanks. Thanks again, Daryl.
Thank you for having me, Pops. I appreciate it, brother.
later, Daryl.
Y'all take care.
Absolutely, bro.
night.
See you, Daryl. Go ahead, Steven. You had a thought
There's
real
this
quick.
channel
before
I
get
had
back to Joe.
mentioned that I did a Friday thing with him, and he usually does like a Tuesday night. Let's take a look at the world and see how silly it is today. Right? Breaking news. It's still silly. Spoiler alert. And it's that kind of show. And he's like this kind of down home, mid East Coast kind of dude that he's living in Ohio. And he's just a regular dude, He's
no
wearing his
sir.
Elvis sunglasses and his baseball cap, and he plays an electric guitar, and he's got a dog. Just a regular dude. And he opens up. When I first discovered him, I couldn't really put my finger on what it was about him that was so charming. Because a lot of people are doing exactly what he's doing, but he's doing it better, quote unquote. Asterisk. See definition. Let's have a discussion about that. And what it turned out to be, because Papa Cotton hangs out there, old Wookie Sasquatch. He hangs out there. He's like one of the early wrenches on the channel. And what he offers is this kind of like, hey guys, the wife just went out with her girlfriends for the weekend. So I'm opening up the garage. Let's hang. And it's this kind of like ne'er-do-well kind of, who cares? We're all bosses, right? You're a boss. I'm a boss. I'm the boss of the bosses, and you're the boss of me, right? Because we're all bosses. Like that kind of camaraderie where it's just crack a beer, man. What are we talking about?
Gotcha. The authenticity I think is crucial to that element, and I think that's what I found with Daryl and all of you guys and people that I've met so far. I would rather have the closer knit group of people that I know that are being honest and genuine, just being who they are, and we can just talk about stuff, good, bad, and otherwise, than to get into some of the drama and some of that kind of stuff. And I know it's there. I know I had Saggy on. Boy, talk about somebody who knows drama, right? And it was like, and it's like Saggy, she's like, no, drama will always come for you. And when we were done or whatever, I'm like, Saggy, I've been there. Drama ain't coming for me. I'm the old guy in the room going, no, you need to just go away, young man. You just need to go away. I'm like, no, I've been canceled. I've been canceled before. You don't scare me. Just go away. You're fired. Yeah, I'm good. So, awesome. I want to say hey to Phil TMT. I have not been over checking out his stuff lately. Phil, I need to catch up, bro. find out what the catch-up's been on and what other craziness is breaking out over on Phil's channel. Who knows? So, all right, Joker, what's been going on? I interrupted you earlier. We were having a thought. We were talking about Matt going off and buying Shaw Brother and Hammer DVD sets, and I was in envy and loving every moment of those reflections. And you were going to jump in.
I honestly forgot what I was gonna say, but as far as what's going on with me now, wow, this year, I mean, we're barely 2 months in. We barely completed 2 months, which, by the way, my birthday is Saturday. Just saying.
Oh, happy birthday, brother!
Thank you. Which is where my campaign for the Stuttering the second campaign for the Stuttering Foundation ends. And as he pops, just drop the link in the chat there. So get yourself some Joker Voice merch and give to a good cause.
Yeah, man, you gotta do it, man. We gotta help each other out, get some merch,
and but other than that, I've just been, I'm trying to cleanse my palate of all the stuff I watch, so people don't have to. I'm like, you know what? I want to watch some stuff that I don't want to watch, and that's been the Constantine stuff, the animated stuff of late. And then I actually reread. Just talk about a ego boost here, or ego cleanser, whatever. I reread my little fan fictions. I did 2 with Constantine and Zatanna that I reread those, and I'm like, okay, I've seen worse on screens, so that hasn't been that bad. And just working and doing 3 videos a week now and being guest on other streams. I'm like, God, this is like a second job.
Oh yeah, but you got to do it in a manner that becomes an enjoyable second job. I've had a rough week, and this week has actually felt like work. This week, like it's actually been difficult and challenging, and partially because of the day job. But at the end of the day, I know whenever Mrs. Pops was talking about this or whatever, because I really was getting a little out of control. Right, I had too many live streams. I was saying yes to too many things, and that kind of thing. And I had to figure out how to reconstruct things in a manner that would also bring me happiness and joy. So hence that's what was birthed into the Saturday morning cartoons, because it was like, I mean, there was no greater love for me than the 92 X-Men and Batman animated series. Like, they just bring me joy, especially doing them side by side. There's no way that I'm going to I don't want to say crap out, but have a week where I have a subpar episode on both of them. That's just not mathematically going to happen. But I just I also just told her, I said, listen, I know I could get more views because I know more about how the topics and the algorithm works and things. I can chase things. I did an Indian video and it just went crazy. I'm like, oh God, it's so nuts how certain things, run.
Right.
But that's not me. I've been there and done that. I don't want to do a lot of that. If something happens that way, then so be it. But I'm not going to go out of my way to do it.
Right.
So. And Gap After Dark stopped in. It's great to have Gap here as well. So, if any of you are a member, I think I pinned it at the top. Yeah, it's still there. If any of you guys are members and want to hop in, feel free to join us and join the conversation topics. If you are in chat and want us to talk about something, feel free to throw a question or comment in there. We can try to get to that as well. So,
and Pops, if you ever decide to have a talk hard or something on any of those Justice League Dark animated films, especially Apocalypse War, you know who to talk to come on for that.
Yeah, we've been back and forth. So the problem with Talk Hard is we are really locked into the hour and a half, and as you've seen, it's sometimes we can get tight, and I don't want people to feel even less given less opportunities to talk than they already are. It's already a challenge. But I will say every now and again we're doing that. Like, we're doing it again in March because we're going to have Troy Pacelli join us for the D&D night, because we're going to talk about the D&D movie. We're going to talk about the the rising of the darkness rising, and we're going to talk about the animated cartoon that I grew up on, and talk about D&D fandom and that kind of thing. So we don't bring on guests very often, and I think it may be a once a month at the most, or once a quarter kind of thing.
Gotcha.
And the guys are doing a great job of just really helping me balance the topics and things like that. And I will tell you now, spoiler alert, March 14th is what I treat as my 1 year anniversary. Now, obviously, it's not my 1 year anniversary, but that's the 1 year after having COVID where I said Pops first and foremost, where I said, this is the channel. This is the one thing I did. I divorced myself from other obligations and things like that. And so March 14th was the date that I said, it's Pops first and foremost. And even though there's tons of other content, so I'm really calling it like a 1 year later stream of that kind of thing, and celebrate. Hey, listen, I actually pulled this off for a year. This is kind of fun, kind of cool. So I haven't lost my mind. So, and I meet all you guys. So it's really it's been a blast.
Yeah, because I'm in like 14 months now. So I'm like, and I'm still going. All right, I like it.
Oh my gosh. Talk about rock stars. Holy cow. X-Wing made it. X-Wing, my brother. Holy cow. Oh man. Yeah, brother. It's good to see you, my friend. I'm going to finally, so I was supposed to be on X-Wing and I had a last minute family thing that came up and I had to cancel, but we are going to work that out. Actually, it's in a week. It's in a week already. Yeah. It's like March 2nd. It seemed like it was going to be far away. It's already like next Thursday. So I'll be on with X-Wing. I'm going to try to pound my Diet Dr. Peppers and get hopped up on some caffeine and go on X-Wing show. So hail to you, brother. Good to see you. Yeah. So
and as far as anything I'm looking forward to, I'm actually looking forward to late April, the Vegas meet up for Gary and Jeremy and Ryan. They come out to my little neck of the woods and for a night, and that's always fun to meet them. I went to the one last year, and just to interact with Gary and Chris Gore, and that was just some of the best thing that could have happened.
Yeah, we're talking about. I'm trying to convince Mrs. Pops of this. That's the first and most important hurdle, right? We talked about maybe doing like a Talk Hard meetup, not this year, obviously the year after. Maybe like doing like the IPCC Con or whatever that one's called that Loki goes to in Tennessee or something like that, where it's like the geography is a lot more in the middle or something like that. So the meetup was a lot of fun. So yeah, I can definitely see why you're looking forward to that. It's great. So
and if anyone ever gets a chance to go to one of these, absolutely do it. Do it.
Yeah, I agree. Matt, I have not checked over on your channel lately. Where are we at on getting some regular Matt content?
Well, I'm hoping with I mean, like I said, December, early January, under the weather and a lot of work related stuff I had to deal with.
Yeah,
hoping that's all in the past now. I get back on producing, maybe 5 videos a week. I really, more. I really like. I started doing. Some of those older wrestling reactions to that stuff, and some of the spooky videos, trying to see how they might have been faked or whatever type of thing. I want to get back to finishing the latest season of Bleach with the episode reviews I was doing of that. I mean, I don't know what it is. I mean, between the health stuff and whatever, I was very demotivated in December and January. I don't know if it was just winter but I want to get back to producing some content and get back some topical stuff, some news article talking about, things like that. So,
well, I don't want to discount that because the health stuff matters so much. I don't really talk a lot about I don't put on the pastor hat and I don't really get all philosophical and deep or stuff like that on the Pops channel very often. But for me, I go back to a book and a person I was following for a while named Ty Lopez. And I found him because it was one of those how to read faster, be more like a speed reader, read a book a day, book a month, whatever it was kind of stuff. Anyway, he had a thing about your health being the number one priority, because if your health is bad, how much of this other stuff you just can't do. You just can't. It's this massive thing. So, brother, you have nothing to apologize for or think about whenever you say, "Oh, listen, I was going through some health stuff." Look, that's going to happen to all of us, and it's just going to be part of life. And you have stayed so active in the middle of all that, though, and I think that's where the credit needs to stay, because for someone that's been battling through some different health things, you've been active on different streams regularly. You've been, you're here, Roman's channel, you're doing all these different things. And that's very admirable with someone that's, going through that. And I think that will still benefit you when you jump back in doing your own creation. Because, even if it's subconscious things, I think we're always learning and experiencing different and new things. And it makes us better at the end of the day. So, I look forward to it, man. I look forward to seeing more.
I think with Rings of Crime, I found myself
forcing
myself to finish my videos for that. Maybe I was like, maybe that going to health problems. I can see, all. I mean, I know I have obvious health problems, but I have also less obvious ones that aren't related to my weight or whatever. And it's such a whatever. I want, as long as this channel feels like a hobby that makes me have fun, I'll keep doing it. You know what I mean? But I mean, also get to go if I have 50,000 followers and make money or whatever. But that's not why I'm doing this. I'm doing this because I want to express myself and enjoy it and have fun, and not, it's a cheap hobby too. It's the reality of it.
I agree. I have to admit, I really wish someone had just said, you just need a USB microphone and a USB. And I was like, oh, I wish I had not bought expensive cameras and editing and wasted time with other people's stuff and things like that. It would have been a lot better. So, Stephen, I know you're not, well, wait, I'm going to let Joker try to get a nap in. So let's do that, because Joker definitely needs to get some rest. First of all, thank you again, brother, for coming, and also thank you for hanging out for so long, brother. Always say one of my best supporters and friends. We've definitely been able to really get to know each other well, and can't wait for more of that as our journey continues together, brother. Thank you so much. Go get some rest, earn some money, and keep talking, bro.
Everybody.
Toodles.
Night, Joker.
Bye-bye.
X-Wing says it can be a cheap hobby. Yeah, I know, brother. It can definitely also be an expensive money pit, depending on how you want to approach it and things like that. But it's I don't know. I want to keep rambling. Steven, so what are you doing, man? You're on streams like constantly, man. I see you pinging here, pinging there, doing this, doing that. How on earth? How are you juggling that kind of stuff?
I don't know. It's my lifestyle is so in flux, and I feel. This is a note to anybody who wants to do this in the first place. I feel compelled to be here. Call it an ego trip, whatever you want. I feel like I have a very important slant to all of this as a peacemaker in the Tibetan fashion. Guys, we can't allow the fandom to erupt on itself, right? We can't allow this stuff to really, really, really get us down. That's why there's a term called black pill, right? That goes all the way back to MASH. It's like this kind of like gentlemen, you're in the Continental. There's no fighting here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's fair. I'm more of like the old guy who's just like, I've kind of been through some of this stuff. My wife's not handling that well because she's been paying attention to some different things that, she's got a little bit of the black bill more than me. And I'm a big proponent of how the pendulum just keeps swinging, but with the pop culture stuff and especially entertainment. And I do take my lumps for this. And that is, hey, money matters. It hasn't hit them yet. Like when money comes home to roost and people are losing jobs. And that's why I kind of bought into some of the Zaslav stuff. And I'm so disappointed because I felt like he was a money guy and he would get deeper and deeper into the weeds. And we would see, it just didn't really happen. We've kind of hit a little bit of a stall with where he's approaching that. But with other companies, this can't keep going a whole lot longer. Like things like Peacock and some of these smaller streaming services, there's just not enough cash. And these things, most of these things are they don't have long lifespans. And then you have, the bleeding of cash from some of these big companies. What I said may actually happen. I said DC Comics can be saved if they will license their stuff out, license it out. Let Ethan Van Sciver get Green Lantern and see how the Twitter mobs explode on that, because he'll have that cash to actually do it. You know what I mean? That kind of let Todd McFarlane take Batman for 2 years and see how many sales go then. That kind of thing.
Well, I think that's his plan.
I do think that that's their plan, and you can we don't know what these machinations behind the scenes. I mentioned contracts as just the tip of the iceberg of like all of the other stuff, because you got the layer of media ownership and the licensing across seas and in different formats, which is why we were talking about Daredevil and physical media. It's like all of this stuff interconnects. If you look at the big picture, it's like these guys are wrestling with stuff. I have faith that they will do the best for themselves, which is what they were doing when we liked it. Right? They were in it as well. They were enthusiasts for an entirely different reason, the cash, but they were still enthusiasts, right? They were happy that we were happy. You know?
And I think this is why the comic book stuff doesn't matter, because it's such a small potato to these companies. The companies are so big that to WBD, Time Warner, AT&T, to Disney, the comic book sales and stuff like, they don't care. They're not even a blip on the radar. They sell more ice cream at the theme parks than these comic books. They just don't care, right? So when it starts to matter is when it will matter. And it sounds ridiculous to look at it that way, but whenever someone pays attention to it, that's another thing with corporate America. When you've been in corporate America, whenever you look at something, the situation gets better. And we used to have, my bosses or boss's boss will put these graphs or these things on the board. And as long as it was being put on the board and being paid attention to, it would always improve. If they stopped doing it, it would drift back to the way it was almost always.
Well, I want to propose this concept of, where I'm coming from on this. When I talk about these things and when I think about these things, I step way back, like mountaintop kind of way back, right? When I say these people, I'm not even talking about any of the faces we see on TV or in interviews or webcams or shows, just the giant forces at work, right? I'm not talking about individuals. I'm talking about Warner Brothers as a gigantic beast moving through the landscape.
That's how I was trying to refer to them as well. Like Disney, the company, WBD, the company, those kinds of things. I agree. Like that's why I mentioned Peacock by name. I don't want to mention, a particular producer, actor. Who cares? They don't care. Like
they made it all meaningless anyway, right? How many times have we seen ownership change just in the last 10 years? Like it's slipping and sliding all over the place. And Twitter is just one of the gigantic levers being shoved back and forth.
Right.
So
year to year, this streaming services is probably why they wanted streaming services and not original media. But I remember talking in the 2010s time period that Warner, for example, made more money on an annual basis on older products like, say, Superman and whatever, for underoos and mugs and T-shirts and
merch,
kids' toys and whatever, than they did selling copies of Superman the movie 25 years later. Right? Like the movies had that big upfront thing, but then every year thereafter, people bought their copies of it, or they've and so all this ancillary stuff would make them money. And now the reason they're all going gung ho for these universes is since they own their own streaming service, they want to put this content on there and not sell original media and say just $10 a month and you can watch any of these 55 movies. It would cost you 55 times 25 how much to buy them all, So,
right.
There's going to need to be some
extent.
sort of there's going to need to be some sort of partnership made, some way for somebody to be able to buy a pass where they pay $10 a month and they can view on these other channels, right? That you could also own. If you add another $10 on top, then you could watch your whole catalog, no strings attached. But with this membership, you could check out Disney, or you buy the popular shows ticket, right? Like that kind of thing, like a Metro Pass.
There'll be partnerships. Like I think there'll be partnerships. Like we'll see. Again, I don't think. So Peacock itself isn't going to completely vanish. Peacock will be absorbed by something else. Maybe it just becomes a licensing thing, like like Disney currently has their ESPN and Hulu packages, right? So then it becomes like, oh, well, if this, pay the extra $5 and you get Paramount and Peacock, you get both of them or something like that. I can see that easily being a model that could work for two different entities in a very well way to as far as profit sharing. And I couldn't agree more with Matt. Right. Well, I don't think this is ever going away, though. I think cable's pretty well dead. I don't think anyone's going to reverse
I'm just
engineer
saying
this backwards. Yeah.
the business model. They're just going to do it with streaming now. That's the new platform.
Kind of.
All the
Yeah,
cable
kind of.
companies run as an internet service provider and your cable service is really a stream running on the internet. That's how they've all configured it that way now.
Right.
Yeah, it's all been so. And what Matt you were saying earlier makes total sense. Someone who grew up with kids, I bought Superman one time, but the idea of having to buy pajamas and toys and action, an action figure for Christmas, and then a birthday cake, and then this and that. The idea of buying Superman merch versus buying my movie. Of course, they made more money on merch. Like especially if you have the thing that's gotten messed up, which is what Steven, you were saying, is they've messed up the IPs to the point where now I'm like, well, yeah, but now I don't want to buy Superman stuff. I don't even want to look at it right now.
You want to eBay the old stuff so your grandkids can have the stuff you had for your kids now, not.
What's worse than that for Star Wars? Like here I am, this OG Star Wars guy, and I just don't want to look at it right now.
Yep.
I really just don't want to look at it.
They're crashing the market.
I literally have a bad taste in my mouth with Disney and everything. So I literally have, I was the pass holder, 7 passes. I have 5 kids, so 7 passes. And they get no money from me at all. We go out of our way to make sure the mouse does not get a penny. That's it. I look at the back of my closet door. Those are where my hats are. And almost, I would say 80% of my hats is Disney, Star Wars, Marvel type merch of some kind, because those were the 2 biggest IPs for me personally. Marvel and comic books. So I'm looking at those things like there's been times where I get frustrated and I was like want to put them in a bag and just give them away. I don't want to look at them. And my wife already feels that way with a lot of Disney stuff. And I keep trying to throw water on that. Like, let's just wait. They got it. It doesn't last forever. I lived through Eisner. I can live through this. Like it can get worse before it gets better. I know.
Hey,
these guys.
Even paraphernalia from the enemy is still valuable. I would highly recommend to put it away. Talk about the definition of collectible. If a lot of people are tossing their Star Wars stuff in the trash or giving it away to charity or something, that's how you make something collectible, by the way. Rarity, physicality, right?
Yeah, roll a doll right now. Roll a doll right now. You can't, these books are going selling like bonkers on the internet right now because everybody wants to make sure they have copies before the chance that they may not print anymore and they're going to modify them all. Totally agree. So, Matt, the common idiot came in. I hoped he was going to hop in here. So if you're still listening, Matt, you are, of course, welcome, my brother. One of my best, closest friends here behind the scenes. We chat definitely weekly, if not every few days, it seems like. And he is solely responsible for me finding out about a couple of stories that have this whole South Park thing has totally landed and made my day. I can't believe this. So on the heels of us doing this whole stream based on parody and comedy, this South Park, he did this video about the South Park thing. If you guys haven't seen this, they make fun of Harry and Meghan. And now Harry and Meghan are talking about trying to sue because of how they were made fun of. And I'm like, this is literally the day after we had this conversation. I didn't even know that. So I have not really watched South Park recently. So today was the first day I watched South Park and I don't know how long. And it made my day to know that it ticked them off that much. Oh, it's great.
Well, in Britain, they could sue because they don't have freedom of speech over there.
Oh, yeah. Well, but does that make me responsible if I'm an American? I mean,
I'm not. I'm saying that they have the idea they can sue because they're basically. I mean, I know she's American, but they're used to the British system where you could sue people or like Count Dankula documents, putting people in jail for like expressing themselves.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, good point. So,
I would never move to. I would never even. I mean, I'm not someone who wants to really world travel, but there are also a couple places I'd like to see. Now I will never go to Britain, and I will never go to Canada. I would feel more comfortable and safer in Mexico than Canada right now.
I got to be honest. I know this. So this is a weird confession. Steven, you will get this, I think, because there was a movie about the guy that got arrested and he was in like the Turkish prison. We were really young when that movie was kind of big.
Yeah.
And then there were stories over the years, like when I would be in college or whatever, these people that would go to these other countries and they would make these mistakes and they would get in all sorts of trouble. And I thought to myself, that would be me. I'd go to the Philippines, or I'd spit on the ground by accident. I would do something that'd be so offensive I'd get rounded up and I'd end up in some sort of jail. So I've never been one to want to go to like exotic places. I always thought, well, if I went to like Italy or something, it'd be like the touristy trap things and things like that. I would never want to put myself in a scenario where I'd make cultural mistakes. And I know that's a ridiculous fear to kind of have, but if I had fears that are sort of irrational, that's probably one of them.
Most of these countries with tourism industries, like if you go to like Egypt or Qatar or something like that in the Middle East, they'll tell you stay in the tourist zones. Yeah, we don't want you to drink alcohol or or do certain taboo things. But if you're in the tourist zone, we'll just take you to the airport and you could leave. Don't do what some people do, like what was that in Brittany Griner, where she was carrying her marijuana all over, or other people. Just respect us locally, and we'll make you sign up. I did a bad thing, pay a fine, and you can leave, type of thing. But don't. People don't understand. Like if you go to a country that's not the U.S., I remember, and this is Europe now, mind you. I'm not even going crazy. In France, they could grab you off the street without telling you they're cops. Keep you in a dark room, naked except for your underwear. This is the actual law. Only obligated to give you one glass of water and one slice of bread per day for 3 days before they even tell you why you're there or allow anyone to talk to you. The police. Wow. The police can do that.
Wow.
And that's France. Our ally, our first ally.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've kind of been dive deep into Michael Malice's new book, which is about the Soviet Union. So you don't even want to get me down the conspiracy theories and all the stuff of my inner worst. I'm just saying,
before you travel someplace, read the law.
You better just go checking it out. Yeah, like I said, I mentioned things like Philippines and the Indonesia and those kind of places that it sounds like on paper like you'd want to go. Then you read some of the rules, you're like, dude, I don't even own the right kind of clothes to go to some of these places.
Or you know who Viva Frey is?
That sounds so familiar.
YouTube lawyer Viva Frey.
Oh, or yeah, okay, yeah,
he fled Canada. Remember, I don't know if you kept up with his channel. He fled Canada about 6 months ago. I don't want to change into politics on that. I'm just saying that the amazing stuff, like the times we're living. I'm 49, right? And I grew up obviously with the end of the Cold War, Reagan and all that. And the wall fell. I never thought we would go back. I just, when people said communism was insidious, it just gets like fungus, which Nietzsche was right. This is basically a quotation from Nietzsche. An evil deed is like a boil. It's bold. It's there. You see it and you know what it is. But a bad thought, it's like a fungi, a tiny little fungi. If you don't pay attention, sooner or later you'll find out you're covered with thousands and thousands of fungus.
Wow. Yeah. I thought I guess when you lived through it, we all kind of felt like that was the experiment. It played out and it failed. We can all just move on now. And you realize
potential nuclear war with Russia again.
I know, it's nuts. So on a good note, let's go back to the hat and have some fun. Let's give away. Let's do the Batman packs. Let's do the Batman packs. Okay.
Yeah, I got a question for you actually, Pops, when we get back to
you want to do that now, or you want me to?
Kind of a question. So do your giveaway.
We'll do the pack. We'll give away the packs first. All right, so we're going into the hat. I don't want to break up the rules too much here, so I want to make sure I did a good shuffle, so I can do a good shuffle. And I got it. I can't. Okay, there we go. Daryl the Derelict. Look at that. Daryl the Derelict. All right. He left. I wish he was here.
Almost on camera.
Yeah, almost. So I got one left. We'll do the black hole a little bit. We'll do the black hole near the end of the show. We'll do that. So, all right. So, comic book question. Always put me in the hot seat. I love it. Let's do it.
When I say, and this is from Steven too. So when I say what I'm going to say, what is the first thing that comes to mind? Like an example of a comic book cover was the first one that comes to your mind.
Mine is probably Amazing Spider-Man 300.
Okay. How about you, Steven?
The original Batman cover, the first Batman cover. That to me is that's comic books.
Yeah. So for me, now I inherited some comic books from my grandma and some from my uncle, right? My aunt's husband, so to speak. And he gave me a whole bunch of Superboy in the Legion and whatnot. And I read through all those and got to where Superboy had to finally lead the League of Superheroes. And the cover of that, where he's flying away crying, and they're erasing the memory of all his friends. I literally, to this day, Well, that comic, that's the first comic book cover I think of when you say comic book cover. And that was almost 40 years ago I read it now.
It's a funny question. So I'll elaborate here in a minute. Matt, my brother, how are you, my friend?
What's up, Pops? Doing well. How are you?
We are having fun. We've been hanging out for a while. Glad you've been able to join us and actually jump in. Thanks again for all your support as a member and and being a friend, man. I love you, brother. Thank you so much. It's awesome to have you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've been listening. I just been catching up from work and then doing a little run around. I got a late hockey game tonight, so I was like, I got a lot to run around. But I'm glad I was able to actually jump on and hang out with you guys. And yeah, I love being a member, man. I love your channel. You talk about a lot of stuff that you're very knowledgeable and stuff that I want more knowledge in. So that's why I listen and support the channel. So
that's awesome. Appreciate it so much, man. And Chris Perja asked whoever wins, do they have to eat the gum on camera? I asked them to, and I asked for the footage so I can add it to the database. So I will ask Daryl if he's going to open them, if he will put the video, if he'll put it on camera or not. We'll see if he does or not. Since I'm sending him 2 packs, he could open one and keep the other one. We'll see. We'll see.
That's so funny. So funny.
Okay, so Matt, so it's funny you say that, Matt, because if I were probably, I don't know, I guess if I was more intellectually honest and I was thinking more about like something that meant a lot to me, the Avengers 181 cover is probably far the biggest cover in my life because it was the one I remember from being like a little kid. And it's the issue where they've had all sorts of adventures and the Guardians are there. There's like 50 characters everywhere. And the government says, we're going to pick 7 of you. And they end up picking Falcon so they can be racially proper and whatever. Right. But because it had all those characters as a kid, I was like, oh man, who is this one? Who is this one? Who is that one? That was the gateway drug from the Marvel side for me as a little kid.
Well, I was asking like a Rorschach, like your first response type of thing, not.
Yeah. But when I think of covers, because it's been parodied so well in so many ways, the Amazing Spider-Man 300 when it came out and just that look and the introduction of Venom and all of that to me, and obviously I could have easily have said Spider-Man #1, which is kind of the same thing with McFarlane.
Now
I don't know.
In this apartment, I don't put posters up because I don't want to put holes in the wall. But I'll see if I can move my camera right behind me. See that little stack behind me? There's that boxes. There's 4 posters up there. One of them is the cover to Amazing Spider-Man 300.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. Awesome. So Matt, when we say to you, Matt, we say comic book cover, what's the first one that comes to mind?
Death of Superman.
Death of Superman. Good. Yeah, that makes
sense.
That
was
wow.
Yeah. So
the one with the cape on blowing in the wind.
Yep.
No.
Yeah.
The blood.
Oh, the blood. That too. Both of those two, because I remember that was the biggest thing. Like, back in the 90s, 90. What was that? 94.
92.
92. So even younger than that. So that's when really I remember that was epic for me. Like, and I wasn't even that big into comic books. I was still fairly young, and hearing that, even like my mom and my parents knew how much of a big deal this was. Like that was That was massive. So I remember getting those comics, and that's what really thrusted me into the comic book world. And then I've always loved Spider-Man, right? But I didn't really have a lot of comics at the time, and that's what got me into going to the store with my dad. And hey, Dad, can I get a comic? Can I go look at some? And he was like, yeah. So that was the start of my really dive into comics. So yeah, and it's such an iconic time. Like that was, I still just think about the excitement of all that stuff. It was just wild.
Yeah, I have to admit, being into comics, and like I said, I had my little flea market booth going, right? And I didn't have any copies of Death of Superman. I hadn't gotten mine yet, and it made the news. And and I was like, "Oh crap! I don't even have one yet. Where's my copy?" Yeah, it was nuts. It was pretty crazy. And let me say, hail to Flaccid Phoenix. Look at that. He's dropping up in here, hanging out with us. Hey, man. Hope you guys are doing well.
Flaccid.
And of course, love all the stuff that they're doing. They're doing their reactions to Last of Us, and of course the Quantum Mania one.
Some people call it Commie Mania now. I saw a whole bunch of people calling it Commie Mania, like communism.
I've seen it. I couldn't believe it, man. I couldn't believe, her sort of like, all workers of the world unite speech, and then of course the whole socialism is a loaded term moments. Like I just like, what is happening? Like, I don't understand why any of this would be a good idea and this would get through, but I do know it's crazy. So, Well, Ant-Man 3. What is Ant-Man 3? There's no such thing as Ant-Man 3. Ant-Man isn't in his own movie, and the Wasp isn't in her own movie. Like, they're barely relevant in their own freaking movie. It's so strange to me.
The bait and switch happened in the last film. No.
Yeah. All right. So what is this? So hot take. Doomsday is cringe and is a literal edgelord. I'm not a fan of Doomsday at all. I didn't even care for the way it was all handled with Death of Superman. I actually thought it was kind of, I don't know what to say. I don't know. It wasn't as bloody. Oh, I guess I expected more for it to actually be his death, but yeah, I don't know. I don't really have much of a take. I'm not a huge Superman reader, so I'm not even sure I'm a fair person to even have input.
I was okay with Doomsday when he first appeared. He should have been a one-off villain.
Yeah, it should have just been he died, and that would have been it. That would have been cool. Yeah,
I remember going off on it like when he was brought back in the 2000s. A lot of stories. I'm like, what are we gonna get next? Lady Doomsday, the Dooms dog. The Dooms family. Is where you're gonna go with this now? Is he gonna have special kung fu Doomsday food? Is he gonna See,
that sounds like fun parody right there. I like the Doomsday family. I love the idea of a parody of behind the scenes of the Doomsday family with the Doomsday dog and the Doomsday daughter and
him coming home after a hard day of killing everything. Like,
right, like at the end of Young Frankenstein.
It's a whole planet of Doomsdays. It's like there's a Doomsday mailman delivering the mail and a Doomsday pizza guy, and they're all Doomsday. And the wussiest of all of the Doomsdays is the one that came to Earth and beat Superman. Like, he's the wussiest one of all. He's like the teenager that left home. Yeah.
Like
see, that's how you write parody.
By punching it.
It's like a Family Guy sketch that I could see happening,
I could totally see that as one of the channels on interdimensional TV on Rick and Morty.
From Rick and Morty,
Yep, totally.
And
everybody Doomsday.
I can't prove it, but I bet they stole the origin for the woke female doctor with the timeless child from Doomsday. If you remember the secret origin of Doomsday, he was a non-Kryptonian taken to Krypton, killed over and over again until he started regenerating. And eventually his DNA got in the atmosphere, and that led to the Kryptonians evolving from that.
Oh my, you're so right, but I doubt they're smart enough to have actually done that. I think it's just one of those it's one of those mind worm things. Like, it just happened that way. I don't think that they actually are smart enough to have actually thought that out. But Cannoli Sasquatch is here. Hey brother, hope you're doing well.
Hey Sasquatch.
Doomsdog would sell. I think the whole concept of the planet of Doomsdays. I got to be honest, guys. If we pitched this to DC Comics, they would buy it. Especially if I agreed to get a writer who draws like a freaking Berkeley artist, where it's all pink and purple.
Oh, you're talking about on paper? Okay.
Oh, I could get Doomsday Planet. I could get Doomsday Planet published. I would rather do a show. I'd rather do like an 8-part episode series on
I could totally see it,
Max.
just in the same vein as WandaVision, like that same tone.
Oh my gosh!
The only way though Doomsday would have to be gay for them to approve it.
Well, we can have trans Doomsday. Like
I would say
trans.
If it's him married to a woman, they'd be like, no, sorry, this isn't for us.
No, I think they'd be straight, but it would be like the brother is married to another brother, like their uncles. Your uncles are here, and it was like they're both trans. Like, the male is now the female married to the one that's switched, so they've both double switched, because that's the normal thing right now. Now they'll double trans, right? Yeah. And that's who the Doomsdays come in. It's the trans Doomsday, and they've got another Doomsday dog that has to babysit, and that creates conflict because our Doomsday dog doesn't like their Doomsday dog, and that's the funny consequence of this episode.
Hashtag download the transcript for this live stream.
Yeah.
Doomsday dog. Steven, you're the artist, man. We got to have like a little drawing, a little sketch of like a Doomsday dog or something.
The dog has the metal straitjacket on his front paws, and he scrapes along the ground.
Yeah, Pops.
I'm shocked it hasn't already been done.
The way to create
it hasn't already been done.
You do a contest on Instagram, and you ask 12 and 14 and 15-year-olds to do that, to lampoon Doomsday
When the dog wags his tail, a sonic boom goes off and blows stuff around it.
You could probably compile it all from the comic books, just the images from the comic books overlaid on top of very, very Simpsons-like scenes.
If you guys, so for all of you at home that don't know, or let me just talk to my children for a minute, because I know you guys don't watch, and I've probably died, and that's why you're watching this, because it's the only content. You're like, oh, I feel guilty. I should watch what my dad did for I don't know how many years. So when you're watching this, let you know that behind the scenes in my Talk Hard, our secret little DM message, someone created Mr. Mischief, which is a spoof of Miracle Man and Loki. And we literally wrote fan fiction back and forth in the round for like 5 days. So we have like these 5 paragraphs of this Mr. Mischief, like almost like serious sounding, like introduction type stuff. Doomsday Dog is the same type of thing that happens in my brain. Like once I end up down the rabbit hole, it just keeps going and going and going. So yes.
Yeah, Ironcaster would, of course, would want a sharks. Doomsday sharks in the waters, of course. They would have to be Doom sharks.
They also
that would have to be like episode 5 would be a Doomsday Shark episode that ate the Doomsday Dog.
Right. And then you find out that it's just them going to the movies to watch Jaws, but it's Doomsday Jaws.
Yeah.
Oh wow. That's like meta. It's like Doomsday within Doomsday within Doomsday.
Exactly. Like yeah. Doomsday verse Doombus.
That's the best. Daniel's here. Hey brother. Hope you're doing all right, my friend. That's awesome. Good to see you guys.
It's like the whole gang is here.
They go full meta with Super Doomsday. He has a Superman logo on in the cave.
Oh man, Doomsday cosplaying as Superman on the Doomsday planet.
Imagine a little kid running around in superhero
and they're selling Death of Doomsday comic books where it's like the meta in reverse, like super.
Right. I want to say there would have to be a Doom Batman in that universe. There would be a Doom Man, and he would be like the Batman of the universe instead of 2 pointy ears. It would just be this all spikes coming out of his head everywhere, and they would all be black points. Yeah.
So the Legion of Doomsday would be like the Super Friends,
right?
And
exactly.
The Super Friends would be rebranded. Yeah. So everything would be complete
because we have a what was it, Bizarro Man universe? Because we have a Bizarro Man universe, there would be a Doomsday universe as well.
Yeah, that's freaking great. That's awesome. What do you think, Matt? Think we're onto something? I think we're onto something.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We could definitely. I would rather buy that than anything current day coming out. So
I was on with this video I did this morning that didn't work right because the audio was all jacked up. We'll have to redo it, so I'll post it either tonight or tomorrow. It'll be tomorrow. Let's be honest. I'll be too tired tonight. With Shelby, and we're talking about some different comic books. And we're talking about different things, and one of the things we started talking about was Madman, Mike Allred's comic, and it took us down the rabbit hole of like fun comic books. Like imagine when you read comic books and they were just fun and you actually had a laugh and you had a smile. It was smart and clever and interesting, and you started talking about some of those kinds of things. And same thing with Gray at Wakazaki Steels. We started talking about like Gru and other comedy, these type of things.
Yeah.
And like it is also dead. They're just not as common as they used to be. I'm not saying they're not out there, but they're definitely not as common as they used to be. That's
dude, sure. Carrot Head. I mean, just the visceral image of that character. It's just like, you got to be kidding me, man. It's just this guy in jeans and a collared shirt. It's like a One Punch Man universe character. He's just got a carrot for a head.
Well, I ended up on Tick. So I used to have to drive cross town to go to New England Comics. So that's the only place that had the OG Ninja Turtles, and they were on the wall at that point. Like you had to save your money to go buy them. Like they were, $100, which back then was a lot of money, guys.
Right.
That's how I found Tick, and Paul the Samurai. So and that was my gateway drug towards that kind of stuff. So.
Did you ever hear the origin of Tick? Like where he came from? Like what his beginnings?
You mean like what the creator did to make Tick?
Yeah, like where did he come from in the comic book lore of the universe? It's actually he was the editorial image to the letter writers in the comic books. Mm-hmm. And he was birthed from that. He spoke in the same voice, that gigantic My Hero Academia universe now owns practically like the image of like that super heroic Captain America, Superman kind of attitude about him. And
Right.
he was birthed from there. Somebody asked him in the editorial, it's like, you have to have a comic book for you. It's like, why aren't you a comic book? They would ask this editorial identity. It was an avatar for the editing staff.
Very
Ben
cool.
something
I
was
like
the
it.
main guy. Ben.
Yeah.
Can't remember his name. I used to order comics from New England Comics all the time. I remember getting early tick stuff. You know.
Do you remember what it was? I don't know why I'm thinking it was in Wizard Magazine, but I'm
No,
I'm
it
sure
was
I'm.
New England Comics.
New England Comics is the
Okay.
publisher as well, and you had to go to a place like a New England Comics to get New England Comics. Like they didn't want to spend the money to completely distribute on their own.
Yeah.
Like that. Daniel, let me tell you, the reason I shared that, Daniel, is it warms my heart because I'm loving this so much, and if those of you haven't caught on, it's the way that I make sure that I go home happy, because I usually film or finish posting them or something right before I drive home. I leave on a high note, especially with the Batman, because even if the episode was like mediocre, the animation is so freaking good. I love it. But I appreciate everyone's feedback. This week is going to be a lot more fun than usual because I added some commercials. I went back and found some 1970s commercials and things like that to kind of give you a better feel. I didn't really tie them together because the best way to do it would be to like make it longer and tie them all together. But thank you again for that because I really appreciate it. And Jacob, that's the best, guys. Look at that.
Dude. Hey,
Doomsday Multiverse.
Tops,
Oh,
there
God,
are AIs you could use on your phone. There are AIs you could use on your phone, and all you have to do is enter a single image of Doomsday and then just go, Doomsday has a picnic with his family.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God.
And the AI will just crank out image after image after image. You just keep redoing it and then feeding those images back in of the picnic itself.
Okay.
Right. And you'll find the perfect image of like, it'll be The Simpsons, but it'll be Disney. It'll be Doomsday.
Gotcha.
Yeah, with a Doomsday dog and everything, I'm sure.
Perfect.
With Doomsday ants.
Daniel, so it's so funny you asked that because first off, let me just say everyone has been asking. Well, I shouldn't say everyone because I'm not going to speak for everyone here, but a lot of people have asked me, can you do other shows too? I'm like, there's only so much time in the day, guys.
Yeah, right.
And it's not like these videos are getting 5,000 views. Let's just be honest, guys. Okay, so it's just, I will say I actually did the Justice League show, the first 3 episodes with my grandkids because they didn't know who Martian Manhunter was. So we watched those 3 episodes and because one story, and I thought to myself, why is this not the Justice League movie? Because it's like it's them coming together to be the Justice League. And then I thought about the Superman because it's so much lighter than the Batman. And it used to come on after each other, right? So Batman would be the dark one, and then the Super. So it was like the nighttime, and then it was the daytime.
Right.
I loved the Superman because I was never a huge Superman reader. I would read like pocket stories. I'd read like a story here and there and things like that. The animated show, I enjoyed it a lot. So I would love to have the time and the resources to do more of these and do these little pop perspectives and stimulate the conversation, stimulate the rewatch, because that's what brings me the happy and joy. It's just, if number one, I'm also rewatching every single thing I'm doing. So yes, there are certain things that I watch and I don't finish. I don't do a video on. It's pretty rare. I can think of maybe 2 or 3 where I've said, I only lasted 45 minutes in this. And I should have made that my worst movie of last year, by the way. And I totally missed up on that because it's called The 355 and it's a Jessica Chastain. And
God, I heard about that.
I lasted 40 minutes and just stopped watching, and I should have made it my worst movie. And it wasn't the worst movie in the sense of just quality, because I think the Disney Pinocchio was the worst movie. It was because it should have been so decent and it couldn't even be decent. And it just made me angry to the point where I was just done watching it. And in my review is me going, I only watched like 40 minutes. For all I know, this movie got great, but I'm not sticking around. I'm not watching it. But I've gone this far and I'm doing a video. But that's pretty rare. I always watch it. But I've watched, Loki was teased. We were having a back and forth before we started all this because I've had 2 or 3 that I've started this week that I didn't finish. I didn't even get very far in them. And I don't even want to mention them by name because some people might have actually asked me to watch them. And I'm like, they're bad. I don't want to watch them for different reasons. So, yeah. But no, I don't know, man. Superman would be cool. Doomsday
That
Dog.
animated
AI,
series was amazing. Those guys
What was
talk
90s
about
when
hitting a wave.
Batman, Batman Beyond, Superman, the animated series, Justice
League.
Limited,
Justice League, Teen Titans, oh
X-Men.
man,
Titans back then. There's
X-Men, Spider-Man had a show.
Yep.
I mean, it just
the Spider-Man
keeps
show
going.
was great.
I thought Spider-Man had 2 shows in the 90s. I'm remembering.
There's one that's early, and there's one that came along a little bit later.
Yeah, they were both good. I remember.
I've had people asking. I've had people asking for like the OG stuff. They want like He-Man, Transformers, G.I. Joe. They like,
oh wow,
how much time do I have, man? You guys better tell your friends to start watching my videos so I can make this get going here.
Well, actually, an idea came to mind, Pops, and I know that there's only so much Pops time on Pops time, right?
Hashtag Pops time.
Hashtag only so much.
Yes.
Watch one episode of any one of the shows that somebody mentions, right? Like the Herculoids or something. And while you're watching it, just capture a 15-second or a 30-second snippet of what you think is like the reason why this show is so awesome, and just put it up as a short. Like a short, breezy, watching it on your phone, and you just capture it right there. You just grab the video of that moment, you bump it back a couple of seconds. You're just like, that pretty much sums it up right there. That friggin' moment right there. See, I watched it. Right, that's the title. The series name is like, see, I watched it.
See, I watched it. Because the only reason that I don't show more snippets or examples is it requires so much editing. Like obviously I bloopered this video this morning.
The breeziness of doing it that way. Just like grab an episode off the shelf, watch it, and while you're watching it, capture it. Even if you're videoing it right off the screen that you're watching it on, right? Because you own the hard copy.
Maybe, yeah.
By the way, they just released 1080p Herculoids last year on Blu-ray. It's an upscan, but it's a pretty good upscan. So if you love the Herculoids,
okay, I'm gonna have to put that on. We need a Pops watch list, a Pops list of things I want or need, and that would be Herculoids would be on that list. That's good. So, this was so true, Daniel. This was the way it was, and it was broadcast that way on purpose. Like Batman was first, and then Superman. So it was dark at night and light during the day, and you knew it was beautiful. It was so well done, and we were definitely spoiled. My kids are spoiled because even though they weren't born until a little later, so obviously it's more like late 90s for them, and then in the early 2000s this was already all out, so they've grown up on all this. So I know
what startles me about that universe is,
I love those shows, man. I love all
the DC universe. In the DC's single continuity universe, Batman animated series all the way on through with Justice League and Superman, the animated series, right? All that continuity with Teen Titans thrown in, and the movies, that Tim, vibe of the whole thing, that line quality. How many incarnations in that one continuity are like probably the best you've ever seen them on screen? Like Flash, Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman, Robin. I mean, certainly Robin.
Supergirl,
Joker. I mean, crying out loud.
More than the heroes. More than the heroes, it's the villains.
Yeah.
And if you've watched any of my videos, I can tell you, like, okay, I mean, Mr. Freeze was fine, but when Heart of Ice dropped, Heart of Ice made Mr. Freeze a top tier villain. And Clayface was out there, but when you saw the Clayface animated series, you're like, now he's top tier. You know what I mean? It's like
it was a horror movie. It was so good. You actually gave you chills as an adult. It's like, you got to be kidding me. This is supposed to be for kids.
Proud that I have thrown gas on this guy's love of Clayface because I just keeps bringing it up.
And I reject the solidification of Harlequin that they did in the last 10 years.
Whatever.
Of the character.
Again, copyright. They own it outright because of the Tim contracts. Because of the way the animated series work, they own it outright, and they own it in live action more so than he does now.
Yeah.
So it's
ZBR
like again, it's the same thing.
ZBR is here. Hail to you, my brother. Good to see you, my friend. Awesome, and also now a member. So I appreciate having you here, man. It's awesome. So. No, I'm loving all that. I'm loving Throwback Thursday because I watch old movies, and that's been fun. That was my way of utilizing time. I forget why we were stuck at home. I may have been one of the hurricanes or something. We watched like 5 movies in 2 days. And I'm like, I can't just keep wasting time. Like I have to, what's the point of, so that's how Throwback Thursday came back. Cause I used to do something like that back in the day. So yeah, I just a couple spoilers or pre, I don't know, whatever, teaser. I don't know, whatever. The Sting, Serpico, Murder by Death. Those are the next, I think, 3 probably. Those 3, I've finished those. So, yeah, I love finding older movies and enjoying that content too. So that's the other piece with these cartoons that gets me going. It keeps my
What's your take on Brazil, Pops?
I love Brazil more than I love anything that has to do with 1984 because Brazil seems more like it could happen. Brazil seemed like it could happen. 1984 was such a great commentary piece in literature. It's a little bit more of a harder thing to translate and make you believe it can happen. Brazil was like a manifestation of 1984. You're like, holy crap, this is like you're there. Like I can believe this stuff happening. So
we're living in 1984 right now.
Oh my gosh, we're in the and again, like I said, I'm knee deep in this Michael Malice stuff, so it's like, oh my gosh, so yeah.
Well, I said to someone, about a year ago, it's like when we all read books like Brave New World, 1984, The Fountainhead, and all that. There were warnings, right? The leftists read them, and they were like manuals on what to do.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, literally, like when I was in high school reading Brave New World. And I'm talking about the can't even say it, how they educated the children with regard to certain behaviors, right? If you've read Brave New World, you know what I'm talking about. And they literally doing that to kids now with the taking them to the trans drag shows and whatever.
Oh yeah. This classroom stuff's out of control, my friend. So yeah. Daniel, we're with you, bro. You have friends in us. We're with you. We're with you, man. ZBR is saying that Clayface would be about. Yeah, this is definitely what Matt is saying. And I think, Matt, we were talking about so again, fan fixed it up. Steven will love this. We would love to write a Clayface horror movie where you don't see a lot of Batman. It's mostly about Clayface. And it's in the vein of like The Thing.
Oh, that would be sick.
Yeah. You could almost do the same model as The Fly.
Mm-hmm.
Right, you've got the invention, you've got the body horror, you got the transformation, you got the girlfriend, you've got the love affair, right? The whole thing.
Yep.
You like him, and he imitates exactly what her boyfriend looks like, and goes home with her, and he's left at the bar, like a scene like that.
Oh, kind of like Hollow Man, Hollow Man.
Oh yeah, that's a good reference. Yeah. Abomination AJ in the house. Talking about someone who's just love this guy, love your brother.
Get back to work, Abomination AJ. Don't you have videos to edit or something?
Yeah. Daniel's like, what good is the blueprint? No one's listening. It's like they turn it into an instruction manual, basically. Better not to bother saving knowledge. Yeah, I know. Abomination AJ. I know. We're great at coming up with ideas. We've got to figure out how to get some of this stuff going, get some stuff executed.
Batman and also in the Superman animated series, there were multiple shows that were not about bad guys that had superpowers. They were more like you're interfering, with the harmony of like the world. It's like some guy with an invention or some guy that was a bank robber or, Batman dealt with the mob more often than I'd ever even heard of in the comic books.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that was part of what made like the comic books great, and especially when you had this heyday of my time where you had the Batman main title, the Detective, Legends of the Dark Knight. You would have like 2 issues with Joker. You might have a standalone or a little subplot here where it's just like a gang or street crime. Then you'd get back to a 3-part story with Penguin and then Riddler. Then you'd have some little side thing here, side thing there, and then it'd be Catwoman. And the universe was set up like that where you had so much of that. I will say that this is one of the reasons that New 52 duped people, because in Action Comics, like Grant Morrison starts off by trying to like write this grounded Superman's going to be like the regular dude trying to figure things out, whatever. And then it derails into a freaking nightmare. But that element of Superman works. And that's why the Christopher Reeve one, I think, still holds up so well. Because like he's first introduced to Superman, he goes on a crime foiling spree of like, the jewel burglar, He, he has a little conflict, a little shootout with the boat, these kinds of things, and it becomes more like what Superman would actually have to deal with from time to time. And I know, Matt, you and I have talked about All-Star Man.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've got to do a video on All-Star Superman. Issue number 10 is one of the best comic books. I just love issue number 10 of that. The day in the life of Superman, where he's just going around and he's pinging, doing all these different things, and you're just like, man, this is so cool.
See, that's a Superman movie. Imagine if someone like Christopher Nolan, who would be into the concept of the extra dimensionality of Superman, that what he could do in a day's work.
Well, remember one of the things I love about also Superman. Remember the Bizarro storyline where he goes to the Bizarro world and meets Zibaro, there's the Bizarro Superman, who is the opposite of Superman, so he's hated by all the people, but he still tries to be a hero, and he's really sad, but Superman cheers him up, and that was amazing. I mean, the whole thing, just the way Grant Morrison wrote it, like he took everything that was great about Superman for like 70 whatever years and distilled it into one
miniseries.
One miniseries.
Matt, you don't have that, do you?
What's that?
The All-Star Superman.
No, I don't.
All right, don't buy it. I'll send it to you. I have a set. I have a hardback. I was gonna post or do something with it, but I'm gonna send it to you because you'll appreciate it more than
the adaptation. It's horrible.
Yeah, don't watch the TV version. Don't watch this animated. They messed it up. But
the animated movie, yeah, I haven't.
Yeah, don't.
But this will make up for. But I heard reviews on it are bad.
Yeah, me sending you this will make you happy, and you'll forget about reading Batman '89. That horrible.
Oh, I'm halfway through. Like Jesus. I was so excited.
Such a freaking because they tease you in those first issue.
Excited.
They give you a couple images, and you think this is not going to be bad, and then you're like, "It's not Batman '89. It's Batman '89 in 2021."
Yeah, he's Batman 2021. I mean, I literally after part 1, I was like, "Oh, here we go."
It gets worse. It gets worse. So, Daniel, I sleep a lot when I go to the farm because Mrs. Pops works my butt off. So, this old man is hurt and tired when she's like, okay, you're home. We're going to build fences and we're going to fix gates and you're going to help me give it all these goat shots. And you're going to do. Yeah, that's what I go home to because we have baby pigs that were born yesterday. So I have 6 baby pigs. We sold other pigs. So we're moving pigs around. And I don't know, guys, I'm sorry. I don't mind admitting that it's hard to wrangle a pig. They're strong critters, man. You may, sure, Pop. I'm telling you.
So I was speaking of how strong pigs are. So, wild hogs are a problem in south of the U.S. You guys have heard that, I'm sure, by now. Mm-hmm. So they go and they catch in these big cages, and these are steel cages, like mini fortresses. And they show the pig running at it, hitting it so hard that the thing vibrates. It's like a 500-pound pig, like ramming it like it's a bull,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they're massive animals.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine a 500-pound animal, Lord. So, because our biggest male is probably about 230, because these are small pigs in the grand scheme of things. The Kunis is what we have, and they're smaller pigs. Well, he got out, and we were trying to steer him. So I had a pallet trying to make sure he couldn't go past me, and he kind of just bumped it. He didn't even ram it like you were saying, Matt. And I nearly fell over. That's how strong they are. They're just it's like he just effortlessly moved me. And he weighs more than me, so it's no surprise.
But when you are getting older, pigs are dangerous animals. Mm-hmm. They will eat you. I mean,
they eat anything. Yeah,
yeah, they will.
Have you ever seen? If you guys ever watched the show Deadwood back in the day?
Oh yeah, that's how.
That's how Swearinger.
What was the Asian guy?
Chin Woo or something.
Woo. That's right. That's how they made the bodies go away. Give it to Woo.
He just dumped them in the pigs.
And the Hannibal book and the Hannibal movie at least had the pig references.
He was going to feed in Hannibal sequel to the book sequel to the one they made the main movie out of. The guy who captured Hannibal was going to feed him to these 600-pound Sicilian pigs. Mm-hmm. He's going to lower him head first or feet first, so the pigs eat him bit by bit. And these are legit pigs, 600-pounders,
Yeah, Daniel, it was a freaking nightmare. There was no plan at all. I did like a little quick video about the Superman one because I thought that might be where they pull Superman stuff from that was pre James Gunn announcement. So that's why I did my video.
New 52 was where Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman took the year off, right?
Right before that. New 52 is what happens after that, right? So you're thinking of 1 year later where they had the 1 year off, and then it becomes like this. Now they're back, and it's like they're back post Flashpoint. And
yeah, I remember World War III happened in there, and I was like, was this an excuse just to kill off some of the Teen Titans?
Well, it's just all such a mess because it's like when Superman comes back in New 52, it's like his version in Action Comics, Superman and Justice League are three completely different characters. They're not like alike at all. And they randomly try to tie them together, but they're not. Jeff Johns, when he writes something, it made sense and he had a plan.
Yeah. And
Grant's wasn't terrible, but they let Perez write and it really wasn't very good. And then
so Countdown. Okay, let me remember the sequence on this. There was Infinite Crisis, Countdown, Infinite Crisis, then Infinite Crisis, then Final Crisis, right?
Right.
Then and the New 52 is the next thing, or what?
Flashpoint was first. It was Flashpoint, then New 52.
Wasn't there a gap between Final Crisis and Flashpoint? Wasn't there something in between there? Because Flashpoint,
that's 1 year later was in there. That's what you're probably thinking of. It's the 1 year, year later thing where they weren't around. And that was where 52 was. Actual, not New 52. 52 was in there. That's what you're thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah. Because Flashpoint was the one was douchebag Superman, the one who acted like an asshole dating Wonder Woman. Yeah.
Yes.
Who they basically erased and then merged his powers with old Superman to make Superman Superman. I like that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Let's see. Jacob, let me go to Jacob here real quick. I wanted a story, if there isn't one, about Batman fighting Solomon Grundy. Each time Grundy comes back, Batman is a little older. Oh, interesting. There are some good Grundy moments. I loved it in Long Halloween. I loved Long Halloween. I think that's not bad.
Does anyone remember the parodies for Super Friends where like Solomon Grundy won pants, on Cartoon Network?
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, cool. No, that's fine. Daniel, it's okay, man. I understand. We can just recommend the good things for you so you don't have to worry about collecting or reading all of the crap. That's part of the beauty of doing the YouTube thing now. It's like, I feel like, how about you go get, if you haven't read Black Mirror, go get Batman Black Mirror. Go read something like that. You know what I mean? You could, find something that's just like those kinds of things.
In the 1980s, you can pick up almost any Marvel or DC comic, though, and get a good comic.
It's true. That's very true. And if you like Dark Knight Returns, if you've not read Batman Year One, it's probably superior. Awesome. It's even better than Dark Knight Returns. It's the quintessential Batman origin. Obviously, I mentioned Long Halloween, Dark Victory. I think Dark Victory is great as well. They're just basically crime stories. They're freaking great.
And Knights of the Beast. Oh, the
Knights of the Beast.
Yeah. 10 Knights of the Beast 4 issues. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, that.
Yeah, our little pigs. So Chris is saying that pigs are faster than you think they are. Yeah, pigs. So we were driving and suddenly the littlest pig started darting off. So he was easily running 15, 20 miles an hour. He got totally freaked out and he's jetted. And we were cruising along at about 15, 20 miles an hour. And he was keeping pace. I'm like, whoa, he is cooking.
They got some speed to him. Yeah.
So
if you don't think there's AI active on YouTube and Google, we're talking about pigs, and I just updated my YouTube recommendations, and there are 2 pig videos there.
Of course you're listening.
We're always listening.
Okay, so this is an inside joke with a stream that Josh, Project Storytime, was on with Eris, and they were talking about Mary Sue was desperate for people to apply for jobs, and it was very generic writing, journalism, job description type stuff. And I was like commenting, like joking, I should apply because I would easily qualify to get the job. And I was like, I wonder if I could just fake it, like write like a crazy Mary Sue leftist, get the job, and then just keep submitting like honest stuff to them just to make their head hurt. But I just get fired for triggering people. So
do you remember when those social scientists wrote fake scientific papers?
Yeah, went through
whatever, and they got published like they were real stuff, and all they did was put together tropes.
Yeah, dog part essay. Yeah, that was a famous paper I read. I couldn't believe that went through. That was the most incredible thing. So, AJ, keeping us back on task with comic books. When I started collecting, it was the New 52 era. I realized what was happening, but Red Hood and the Outlaws were cool. Yeah. By the way, if you've never read Flashpoint, I'm not a huge fan of Flashpoint proper. However, the Flashpoint Batman, which is Thomas Wayne's story, the 3 issues, and his origin that ties to the Joker, those 3 issues are freaking amazing and dark beyond dark. I mean, it's killing joke level. Like, what in the name of F? This is freaking great. And because I always wondered, why do people love this Thomas Wayne thing? I'm just not getting it. I never was feeling it. So when I did this reread, Matt, I read that. It was like, wow.
Yeah.
I read them digitally. I don't even know how much they are, like, to buy them. I have no idea. I just read them digitally. So, Daniel, it's just because we're talking about stuff that's freaking 30 years old. We're not even talking about. I don't even know what I could recommend. I read the first 4 issues of this whole failsafe story because Wakazashi was telling me how it was pretty good, and they couldn't stick the landing. And the last 2 issues are freaking dog trash, and that's Batman current state. So I got nothing for you, man.
That's what's frustrating about this new movie, besides a lot of stuff. But they're using Flashpoint basically but they're completely changing it, and it's. I don't know. Besides the fact that Ezra Miller's in there,
I don't think they're going to use. Like, I think what they're doing is they know they have to put this movie out because they spent too much money on it on the back row where they can basically erase it, and so they're just going to say at the end the universe resets and we have a whole brand new continuity. Like, it's not going to be connected to the new continuity. It's just going to be. They're just going. Why even bother connecting it? I mean, I don't know if you guys watched the Arrowverse shows, but Ezra Miller as a Flash crossed over with the Arrowverse Crisis on Infinite Earths.
So here's my thing, and until I'm proven wrong, I'm going to stand my ground. Peter Safran is an arrogant SOB, and he has producer creds on some of this stuff. I am not going to be shocked if stuff that Peter Safran's name on survives, and those checks keep coming in. And that involves things like Shazam and stuff and little piecemeals. So I have no problem of believing that they're not asking Gunn to include some of this stuff. And I'm doing my little prep work now, do a little, what can we expect for Creature Commandos? I won't be shocked if James Gunn puts like the Weasel or some of these other Suicide Squad survivors in his little Creature Commandos nonsense.
Oh, I think the Weasel's pretty already. I saw a picture of him in there.
Oh, well then, yeah. So, I mean, so I'm not sure what they're going to retcon and redo. I just think what originally happened and what, Stephen, we were talking about this earlier, right? With the whole, they walk in the room and we don't want to pay royalties. We want it to be woke or whatever. And that's why we didn't get Superman Prime. He's been jailed this whole time, never exposed to the sun. We get this version of Supergirl who's, it's just all just such trash and tripe. I don't know.
Yeah, and what you were just saying before about this producer, he's on the film. Of course, he's going to keep the stuff that and I'm going to tell you a story about this guy, Tom Likas, used to be a radio celebrity, right? He told me 2 things out of Hollywood that just blew my mind, and they're both, he made big bucks because of lines in a contract. One, they accidentally credited him with a voiceover character for a Simpsons episode that he never voiced over, and he still gets paid for it.
That's awesome.
That's one. And 2 is they bought him out of his contract. So he basically, as long as he didn't do anything competitive, he got paid the last 2.5 years of his contract at full rates because they just wanted him gone.
Some of these guys play the game. I go back to this, Eric, because I've been watching these movies. So on HBO Max, it's called The Offer, and it's about the making of The Godfather. And during the show, Robert Evans is running Paramount. And there's all these conversations he's having with the movie that Steve McQueen's working on, Alan McGraw, and they're working on Love Story. And of course, whenever this is all splitting up, and that leads into The Longest Yard, which leads into The Sting, and all this. I'm like, this guy, for lack of a better term, you guys know I try to watch my language. He is swinging long by professional standards. You ain't messing with Bob. So if you're telling me that Peter is this studio's equivalent of Bob, and he's just going to let all these little toadies and whatever think that the Zack Snyder stuff matters. No, he matters. Not all this crap. He matters. He's the guy swinging and calling the shots. And I know James and him have a track record. James is, quote, the creative, but this guy, he wants his check and his legacy too, man. So it's something to just kind of keep your finger on how it manifests. I don't know. I'll go to Daniel's comment because I think he's 100% spot on of why I'm not all in on Gunn. What does he respect? He doesn't respect things.
Mm-hmm.
He made Polka Dot Man cool. Ratcatcher 2. Okay, cool. Yeah, but that's not going to make me excited to see his version of Superman or Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Well, I think the main thing is he doesn't want to compare. Like, he wants characters that are unknown, that's no one done before or no one's touched before, because then there's no comparison. You can't. So, for example, if you kept Superman around, right? If you kept Henry Cavill Superman even in an Elseworlds thing, well, then they're going to compare that Superman and Cavill Superman, which they're still going to do. But if it was still around, they're going to compare it to his story. And he doesn't want to be overshadowed by anything. So he wants a clean slate to do exactly what he wants. And he doesn't. And then that way his stuff shines. I mean, that's my opinion of it, at least.
No, I think you're absolutely right. This is why I said that. Because I don't know what stream I was on. I made a joke about, well, I do have faith in Creature Commandos because it's the one thing I could see him actually getting right. I was shocked that it was animated. I thought it was going to be like a little, it was going to be more like a grounded version. Spoiler, I'm going to do a whole video, and it's going to be very primitive. People have already done some videos on Creature Commandos, so it's not like I'm reinventing the wheel. I just want to have it documented because I think it actually is basically Monster Squad were created to go fight Nazis. And then there's all these new version where they start throwing everything against the wall to let everything stick. So now there becomes like a creature from the Black Balloon, the Bogman. They have a Medusa character. They have a mummy. They have it's like universal monsters in the DC universe. And I think they'll make it somewhat woke, right? Because the female character Medusa does become a lot more front and center in some of the newer versions and things like that. But I don't think I think it's going to be funny. It's going to be James Gunn. It's going to be the Guardians and Suicide Squad type stuff. So I think it won't be horrible. Guardians Holiday Special wasn't horrible. And I says, if that's one of the best things you've done in the last 3 years, you're probably doing something wrong. I stand by that. Same thing with Miss Marvel. If Miss Marvel is one of the better things that you've done, and I still stand that it is, you as a company are doing something wrong.
And they ruined Miss Marvel.
It's terrible. Actually, this week is
I can't
X-Men animated series is called The Rogue's Tale, which is a rogue's backstory, and they tied it directly to the comic book origin, which I thought was it took me back, hit me in the feels. So
Kelly Sue McConaughey, whatever her name is, she ruined Miss Marvel in the comics, and then they ruined it. In the first 3 years of that Miss Marvel character, Camilla Khan, was actually pretty good. So nice little B grade character, developing new type of thing. And then they just went woke with it after 3 years when Kelly Sue, whatever her name is, took it over. And then you got the horrible version that's got the TV show.
America Chavez was the same way. When it first started, she was basically like a very generic Hispanic version of like a Wonder Woman character. And then suddenly she became this crazed lesbian leftist with all these weird references. It was a strange. I stopped reading issues like right in the middle of the issue. I'm like, what is happening? This is nuts.
Yeah. What is up with the Marvel line? I mean, this is like this tracks like way back into the history of comic books, right? The Marvel
the death
line.
of Marvel is one of the biggest events in history of comic books. Yeah.
And then it just splintered into one Ms. Marvel, Mr. Marvel. They're like, how many different Marvel characters have there been? How many incarnations have won the badge?
There was always Miss Marvel, right? X-Men Miss Marvel. I mean,
right, yeah, which Rogue basically engulfed.
Yeah.
Yep.
Then after Captain Marvel died, Carol Danvers became Captain Marvel. Okay. Then something happened to her where she got lost in space and became binary. So Monica Rambeau became Captain Marvel with the photon powers. Just the light powers.
She was super cool, by the way.
And Carol Danvers, I've always liked that character before she got turned into an ultra feminist icon, right?
Agree. The black costume where she's super hot. Yeah.
And even when she came back under Bendis, when she was, she was feminine but strong at the same time. They had that stupid storyline where she gave birth to our own grandson with the
I don't think I read that.
Yeah, her grandson some space entity. It was a weird storyline, and there was the other weird storyline where the Fantastic Four villain was kidnapping women and enslaving them in his mansion for obvious nefarious purposes, and she literally just ripped his head off and killed him. You know, it was another stupid storyline. They've done stupid storylines. That's what point I'm getting at. But
Yeah.
even before that, but she was still a normal character doing stupid storylines and good ones. Then all of a sudden they decided to go the whole short hair woke, you know, Civil War II, I think was when they ruined the character. Was that storyline when she I think it was around that time. You know. And
to me, it seems a little startling. I just imagine you take any major one of the Pantheon in the Marvel universe and replace the number of times that the badge has just been passed on to another being for what reason again?
Yeah, but I think it's because nothing ever really quite stuck into the mainstream the same way other stuff has, because they really have done this in other arenas like the Spider-Man verse. The Spider-Man verse is like this. There's so many crazy elements and things. It's just that the Marvel thing has gotten a little crazy. I know we're going to get a little close on time, so I want to get to this comment on Booster Gold and get.
Yeah, I was looking at that.
Can I just say one final thing?
Yes, go ahead.
The whole Captain Marvel thing with Marvel it has to do with their war with DC over Shazam for 50 years. Because Shazam is the original Captain Marvel. But Fawcett or whatever comics, they didn't copyright Captain Marvel, so Marvel jumped on that name. And so you can call him Captain Marvel inside his comic. You can't call the comic. You have to call it Shazam. And that's the whole reason Marvel keeps pushing a Captain Marvel, because that means DC could reclaim the copyright.
Yeah, they got to make sure they keep producing content to make sure they try different things to make it work. So
to comment on Booster Gold stuff, Daniel's kind of hitting on like the real question here. It's going to be a buddy cop movie. That's how they're going to. So he'll be the comic relief, and there'll be somebody else to anchor the whole thing.
Yeah, he's a comedy character who can have serious moments. He's not a serious character at all.
You, Matt, do you know anything about Booster Gold?
Well, I actually just found an old comic from, I think I posted on my timeline. It was like maybe from the late 80s. I read it. It was okay. Like it was different. Right. Like I wasn't that excited. And I asked, I was like, hey, does anyone know of any good Booster Gold comics? Because this just didn't really impress me. And he mentioned that there was, I forgot exactly what it was called. I actually ordered it already, but it's like an 8th comic book run with the Blue Beetle. Max told me, Max von Priestley. And so I ordered that, so I'm going to read it and check it out. But I don't really know much about him. I just know that I've heard he's more of a comedic, like same thing you guys, like a Chris Pratt kind of character.
Yeah, it seemed almost like it's like a softball for Chris Pratt, but they announced it as a TV show and not a movie. And I thought to myself, well, my theory of that, and I have to give credit to Left Eye Ego, he was the very first person, like 2-3 weeks before the Gunn announcement, had made a comment on a stream about Booster Gold would be a good choice. Bringing Chris Pratt in would be a good fit, blah, 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 blah. They got the multiverse, time jumping, all kinds of elements that would really totally work. So I will say this. While I agree with everything that's being said here about Booster Gold, and I'm with MVP, I don't really have much to recommend with Booster Gold and Blue Beetle. I'm just like very meh on them for me personally. But I also can see that they could do something good with them. And Blue Beetle goes back a long, long ways. I mean, actually, I had notes to do a video on Blue Beetle and just kind of lost interest. But the history there is really, really long and deep. So there has to be decent content in there to get it. So I don't know. So
right into what you were talking about, the Blue Beetle miniseries series with Booster Gold. They had a buddy thing going on in Justice League, and it was really appealing. There were support characters, but they're very charismatically written, and it led very nicely. I don't mean to be a jerk about this, to when Doomsday almost killed them in Death of Superman.
You cared about it.
Well, yeah, you cared about them. When you saw Booster getting his head slammed in a car door, and the Force was the only thing keeping him in one piece, and when Booster and Beetle, they were trying to save each other from this thing, all the while he's Superman not knowing about it on a TV show, talking about it, giving an interview, because he didn't know about Doomsday yet.
They did a similar thing back in the 60s. Hey, Copa. In the 60s, they did a similar thing with Green Arrow and the Green Lantern, right? Wasn't it sort of like they put them together, and it just seemed like an odd thing to do. And I
the
don't know
Brave-
anything
no.
about Booster Gold or the Blue Beetle. There's a whole animated and game universe that I'm like completely oblivious to. So
Superman, Batman, and / World's Finest is Superman, Batman. The Brave and the Bold. That what was that?
That Lantern and Arrow were in a lot of Brave and the Bold back in the day. They'd bring Batman in, Deadman would be in there, things like that.
And
they were a good combo.
Titles like that.
Yeah, Neil Adams famously put them together. Yeah. Yeah, I don't. I don't know.
I want the Brave and the Bold.
Sure. Yeah, I think there is. Yeah, I think there is. I haven't seen it in forever though. So, by the way, this is definitely going to be the topic on this weekend because the X-Men animated series is called Rogue's Tale, and it's like that origin story and that Avengers comic, Avengers Annual number 10. God, I love that comic book.
Rogue is such a deeply tragic character. I mean, she really drew me into the X-Men. She's my gateway into like why I care about the X-Men at all. It's like Rogue, and I think the movie did her wrong. I'm sorry. That's my take on it. Sticking to my guns, but she was insanely tragic in the comic books. Just and with that Southern draw, she had the same thing going that Wolverine did. Just a hidden golden heart that she's not going to let anybody touch, and she literally can't touch you. It's like, ouch, girl, man, I'm feeling you.
So, Chris, they're not doing Ted Cord because they want to use Jaime Reyes because they own all the rights to Jaime Reyes. So that's why they're skipping Ted Cord. I don't know if they're even going to make allusions to that, if it's going to be like he gets the scarab or how all that will kind of work, but I don't think they're dying. I don't think the movie they're doing, and I will not be shocked again that Blue Beetle survives Flashpoint in some way, shape, or form and becomes part of something in the future. I will not be shocked. There's a lot of positive energy about that film right now, being like a 90s feel and that kind of thing. So we'll see. So
was Blue Beetle one of the characters they bought from another comic company?
Yes. Yeah, Blue Beetle was I have my note, and let me get to my notes in the other window. I'll tell you intricate details. I didn't do a video. Yes.
He was Charleston.
Yeah, right before Crisis. That's part of the reason they did Crisis, because they needed to figure out how to roll the Charlton characters in, and Blue Beetle's in Crisis so that they'd make him significant. Yeah. There's no reason to be shameful, Daniel. And if anyone gives you grief, if you don't have one, maybe if I run across an extra one, I'll give you a 1995 X-Men Fleer Ultra trading card. One of the ones that's done by Boris or Julie, and you can justify your Rogue love because that comic, those cards, man, are like, whoa,
dude. Yeah, that Magnolia run where they started taking mutants' powers away, and they got Wolverine and her in lockup, and they have to escape, and she's never had she can't have human contact, and the friggin' guards take advantage of her. It's like it completely. I'm like, Wolverine, whatever the hell you got to do, get this girl out of here, man. Just get this girl out immediately. Yeah. Just, yeah. I feel you, Daniel.
All right. So we're getting close to 8. I want one more. We got to give Black Hole away. And again, there's gum in there as well. So again, you chew the gum, do it on video. Black Hole, baby. Black Hole. That's the gum I chewed. Not that obviously.
They remastered that about 2 years ago. It was a pretty good time.
That's the pack that I chewed the gum out of right there. So, all right, there's still names in the hat. We're going back into the hat for all those members. Let's see. We've got Wakazashi's Tea House. Oh my God, I had to mail this thing internationally. He won't even let me. I will ask him if he'll even let me mail it. And if he does not, the backup person is Netter Network. So we'll see. Have to Gray one, but because Gray knows it's gonna be like $20-something to mail it. Last time I was going to give him something, he told me no, he wouldn't even let me do it. Wouldn't even let me.
Hey, Pop. So we should have some of the original Doomsdog artwork drawn up, and that could be your next giveaway.
Doomsdog, baby, Doomsdog.
Lady Doomsday could be walking him.
I tell you what.
There's an episode of Rick and Morty with Morty comes home and like some robot gives birth to a kid that's part Gazorp, I think they're called.
Yeah.
All you have to do
love-
is reskin that whole episode, and you've got exactly what we're talking about here.
I love your WandaVision idea of it almost being like a 1950s show, where it's like this like it's like this OG
like Young
thing.
Frankenstein.
Yeah, Dick Van Dyke coming home, dodging the little ottoman, and honey, I'm
Where he
home.
crashes right through it.
He just busts right through the door, and just another door regenerates or something.
Like the Kool-Aid Man,
Yeah.
Well, and Matt was talking about his origin, right? So part of the comedy of it would be this brutal slapstick, because they continuously try to destroy each other, and that's how they become greater, right?
Yeah.
That's true. Because if you can kill each other, then you keep leveling up to become the better. And that's why the wussy one is the one that came to kill Superman, because he just couldn't handle it anymore. So like we got the wimpiest of all the Doomsdays, and this is a planet of like super Doomsdays.
Right.
Yeah.
It'd be like an orc sitcom.
Oh. Doomsday from Orc. Oh my gosh.
Wonder Doomsday with the 1970s Wonder Woman music.
Oh, Wonder Doomsday. Wow. Yeah, I need to read that. The Wonder Woman 77. I never read that. After the Batman 89 fiasco, I kind of got a little hesitant on all of those. So we'll see. So, all right. We are coming. Well, I have 4 or 5 minutes. We'll see. So, let's see. I talked to that Matt about content and Steven a little bit. My friend.
Yeah, I'm good.
What is what is going on with you, my friend? First off, the South Park stuff, you made my day. I didn't know. I did a parody stream last night. We were just talking about comedy and the death of parody and whatever, and you were like, you did this video on South Park. I'm like, I watch South Park. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I was talking about.
I saw the clips floating around Twitter, and then I heard that I saw the article coming out that they're pushing legal litigation potentially, and I was like, I gotta do a video on this. So I did a video on it, and then last night I actually watched the episode right after I got off work and stuff. Oh my god, it's and I'm a massive fan of South Park. I used to watch them all the time. I haven't watched them probably before the Coof and all that stuff. Then it was so funny though.
Yeah, it was so good.
Yeah, it was definitely worth the watch. But no, just pumping out new videos as I can with news and whatnot. I got to still work on my The Last of Us episode. I'm behind on that just because it takes a little bit longer to do those reviews. And I watched it and I was just like, oh, here we go. The girl boss again, which I know that's in the game, but of course they had to do the race swap, that's check the box, right? Then they're
I didn't know that. Yeah,
it was race swapped. Communism check, all the nonsense check. They're already.
I just thought it ripped off. It just ripped off Walking Dead so bad and so cheaply. I just couldn't believe that scene where they're riding the horse into the town, and you're like,
"Yep,
this is like right out of." I mean, it wasn't like a little bit. It was like the imagery is the promotional. Yeah. Okay. So, Captain Fandom Nerd. Hey, brother. So I had a giveaway. And names in the hat, quite literally, because if any of you guys remember the last time I tried to do that prize wheel that people like to do, my thing just kept freezing up. I said, I'm not doing that freaking crap again. So I went to the old G, and there's jokes about the hat. We're not going back there. And this month's giveaway was the Golden Age Superman, the hardback. So yeah, Captain Fandom Nerd, brother. You are. So you have got to hit me up on Twitter with your address, man. And let me know. My email's in the description of just about everything. You can email me if you need to. Give me your address, man. Throw that out in some media mail. There you go, man. Enjoy. Hopefully it'll inspire you to read some more comics or share some stories or whatever. I don't know, man. Well, hope you enjoy. I can find another one. I'll give another one away. So, yeah, bro. So it's been fun. I enjoyed that element of getting rid of some stuff. So, hey, Matt, you know the X-Men comics that I found at Ollie's? Because they were all like beat up, right?
Yeah.
My wife and I were at a Hobby Lobby. You guys have Hobby Lobbies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I just wander around, entertain myself. And on clearance for 50 cents, they had these like wood X's. So she's going to Mod Podge the art out of those comics, cut them up, make some Mod Podge for me. And then I'm going to give some of those away.
That's pretty neat.
I was like, yeah. So I was like, wow, this is really. I'm like, I got this idea, and she's like, okay, I'll do that. So my Mrs. Pops is the best, man. She's along for the ride, all sorts of crazy stuff. It's such a fun thing. So
Pops, I was doing a tile job in Pasadena, and I go into this kid's bedroom. Like they got 2 boys, and they're in this bedroom that they're totally remodeling the whole house, and the walls are done exactly like what your wife is talking about with Ditko Spider-Mans.
Oh, wow.
Wall to wall, every single wall, like from the floor all across the whole ceiling, all Ditko. And I was like, so how are you going to keep this? You better cover this up. You know, it's like, oh, we're not keeping it. I'm like, surely you're going to contact a museum. Somebody needs to come by. I mean, an art collector. It's like, no, we're just going to pull it out. Why? You think it's worth anything? I was like, oh my God, I'm like clenching my head, you know, big, like what the hell moment.
You should have been.
You could have just volunteered to take it all down for them.
Dude,
that was
all.
Like, if you don't mind me, yeah.
8 4-foot by 10-foot sheets of plywood, seamless. I don't know. It's like I don't have the facilities, but it just boggles the mind that was.
You wouldn't need facilities. You wouldn't need facilities. You just need photographs and post it online, and you would just sell all that crap faster than you could get it off the wall. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So for my daughter, my oldest daughter, when she got married, they had a superhero wedding, right? So their idea was, my wife, again, she's just genius, right? So I went through all of my old. I was thinking my old, because I always make it sound like the valuable ones. I went through a whole bunch of these 90s comic books, like just random stuff. Not wasn't anything worth anything. And they made like little drink coasters. They made all sorts of these decorations out of actual comic book pages. It was so cool. It was amazing. All these different ideas that they came up with to put it on things and stuff like that. So, and so they become like, you know, usually, you know, who really cares about the stuff you get at a wedding? The nerds at that wedding were all about getting the stuff at the wedding. It was pretty fun. So, yeah. So that was kind of funny. I kind of had a laugh. I had one of the boyfriends of somebody asking me, like, what issue is this from? I'm like, dude, it's been cut up. I don't freaking know. I mean, it wasn't like an image that I'd recognize. It was probably like, you know, like a Green Lantern 5 or something from the 90s run or something. It's just a random issue. So, yeah. Well, guys, that is the member stream for this month. I try to do at least one. I'm going to definitely try to put one on the calendar right away. My March is completely bonkers because I have time off from my day job, which means I'll be spending some time away from the screens because we'll be having time with my grandkids. So I literally have my grandkids on 2 different weekends in March for spring break. And then they have like a big convention that my daughter's family is going to. So the grandkids are going to come stay with us. So I have 2 short weeks in March. So doing a stream in March is going to be very tricky. So I'm probably going to have to do it and Wednesday stinks for most people. And I know that, guys, and I'm so sorry, but I could do the 22nd or 23rd. Most likely is going to be the date for the stream. So I'll pick. But Matt, you stream on Thursday nights, right? And Roman streams on Thursday nights. I don't want to do it on Thursday night.
I usually do mine later, so that's not going to bother me.
Yeah, that's true too, Matt.
It's just part of it.
Start to late. Yeah, I know, but I want to try to. I enjoy our time like this, man. It's kind of a cool time where we can kind of decompress and hang out and chit chat and talk about all sorts of and fanfic Doomsday Dog because it's freaking. Because at the end of the day, though, as I've thought about this now, I almost want Doomsday Dog to be the star of the show. I was going to kill him off a minute ago in episode 5, but now I'm kind of like,
Someone's going to have to put that pen to paper and create that. Or like I said, the AI, someone's going to have to make that. So I might mess with the AI art.
We can create next month at the same Doom time at the same Doom channel.
It would be fun just to take like classic comics and make them all Doomsday because I've seen them do silly things like that. So that'd be kind of fun or something like that. But anyway, no. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I haven't played around with the AI. I mean, I do some of the face swapping stuff, which does have AI in it. But I haven't really played around with a site. So if you guys have a site you think is actually pretty user friendly for an old guy like me, maybe send me those URLs so I know what site to play with. That's really part of the problem is sometimes when you try to find things, you end up with like too much information. Like, you know, Matt, we were at a phone call about like, what editing do you use? What software? You know, it's like, could you try to search for something and you end up with just too many choices? I'm like, can I get like a couple of recommendations?
I've mentioned it before. If you want to know some of the cutting edge stuff that's like totally for free.
Yep.
There's a YouTube channel called 2 Minute Papers. This guy covers this stuff in real time, and they're like 10 minutes tops, any one of them. If you just look on his YouTube channel, there's like a half dozen models. If you go back, there's free copies. He gives links in his comments in his
that'll work.
And I've tried some of them. And once you find one, you find others. You do a quick Google search, you know.
I don't know anybody
AI
else,
image generators, you know.
My dude looks like he's walking around the way that works with my background, my little dude guy. It's like, sorry, I was distracted by the dude because it was gray, right? It was gray right here. And I'm like, it's like blended in. He's like, all right, sorry. I was very distracted when Steven was talking about AI. Yeah. It's like your opinion, Dan. So all right, guys. Well, listen, thanks for this, man. It's been fun hanging out. Thanks to all the people in chat that have come and gone, listened to this after the fact. Thanks, a special thanks goes to Shelly Lee, donating a bunch of memberships, expanding the Pops. Chris, help me. Pop-O-Matics, I think is what Chris likes the most. He may have already hopped over to Loki's channel to a mod over there. But yeah, he's I couldn't do this without him, man. He helps hold he's kind of a glue behind the scene that helps keep everything in order. Can you imagine having to deal with Loki and Ironcaster and me and that's kind of what happens behind the scenes. But yeah, no, I enjoy this very much. I'm loving every minute of this. You guys have meant the world to me being part of all this. Appreciate your membership and support. And then congratulations to the folks I was able to share something with. That'll make, hopefully you'll share that with me back. Like my joy of this is not just I want to see you open it. I want to see you enjoy it or chew the gum. God help us. That'd be the best.
And Luke was chewing the gum.
Yes. So let's find a video. Do I have a video? Oh, I know a video I haven't played, and I doubt you guys have seen it. I uploaded it for another show. So we'll go out on this. It's one of our dudes. It made me laugh. Hopefully it makes you smile. And go out tomorrow, make tomorrow better than today. Talk hard. Take care, folks.
Are you under 30 and the terrifying realization has occurred to you that nothing you have ever done has made an impact on the world around you? Do you believe there's nothing bigger than yourself? Do you want other people to talk about you, praise you, award you, even though you know deep down you've done nothing to deserve it? Maybe consider the Hamar and Iskell Writing Agency. But I don't have any writing experience, I hear you say. My master's is in the cultural impact of pottery during the 14th century. No, that doesn't matter. You don't need talent or experience or even a desire to write to succeed as a writer in today's Hollywood. Today's studios are looking for someone bold enough to say, look at me. I'm me and myself, and this me and myself and I are interesting because we are me and okay, that kind of got away from me, but I'm not actually a writer, and you won't have to be either. Never read a Captain Marvel comic book? That's all right. You like lattes and expressionist films? Now so does she. Terrible at video games? That's just proof they were designed bad. And remember, if it's not about you, it deserves to be shattered into 1,000 pieces and reshaped into your image. Don't think about the next writer to come along and continue your work, though. Hopefully you'll be joining Hammer and Sickle soon. I mean, Hamar and Iskell soon.
Hamar and Iskell is not responsible for lost wages due to the public eventually figuring out you are a complete scam.